This is our 18th and final of 2020 show production from Flip the Script. 18 shows. Ending it on a high note with Christmas time. And would a Flip the Script production be a Flip the Script production if there weren't some chaotic measure involved in our script? So we decided, why not do National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, because it is the most chaotic of all Christmas movies, and that is what I live for. And in the year of our Lord 2020, what have we not experienced except chaos upon chaos upon chaos? So does it not seem befitting to end it with a big old fashion bang? I'm going to go ahead and quickly let our cast introduce themselves to you all, and then we'll get started. For our Clark, go ahead and introduce yourself, Clark.
Hello, I am Dan Cole, coming at you from North Hollywood, California. This is my, I don't know how many Flip the Script, but excited to be here.
And our Ellen tonight.
Hi, I'm Demi Aldridge, and I'm coming to you from Austin, Texas, and I've been involved with Flip the Script since the beginning.
All right, and our Audrey.
Hi, I'm Susie Dunn. I'm also in North Hollywood. I'm also playing Ruby Sue, and I've been around a while too. Excited to be here.
And our Rusty.
Hey, I'm Kevin Thomas Mitchell. This is my first Flip the Script. Thanks so much for having me.
All right. And then playing Francis.
Hi, I'm Darcy Rhodes. I'm playing Francis and Helen tonight, and I'm in Studio City and have been here since we started. Yeah.
And playing Art.
I'm Miles Dabbs. I'm going to be Frank and Art tonight, and I'm also coming from Studio City.
Awesome. And then playing Clark Sr.
Hello, everyone. My name's Jeremy. I'll be playing Clark Sr. tonight, coming to you from Glendora, and this is my 5th Flip the Script, I believe.
All right. Playing Nora.
Hey, everybody. I'm Julie Raylan. I am coming at you live from Silmar, California, in the LA area, and I'm playing Nora, and this is my, I don't know how many Flip the Script. I've been in it for a while too, almost since the beginning, so yeah.
All right, and then playing Margot.
Hey everyone, I'm Felicia. I'll be playing Margot and Christine tonight. I'm coming to you from Colorado Springs, Colorado, and I've been with Flip the Script since pretty close to the beginning, and so excited to finish out the year with you guys.
All right, playing Todd.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Elijah Cho. I'm playing Todd and Rocky. I am joining you from Atlanta, Georgia, or just a little bit outside. This is my second Flip the Script, and I am very excited to be here with you all. Thank you guys so much. Excited.
I'm loving the silent applauses and cheers. That's what we do here. I love it. All right, playing Cousin Eddie.
Hey guys, I'm Cousin Eddie. My name's Cameron Lay, coming at you from Los Angeles. This is like my 4th Flip the Script, and I'm happy to be closing out the year. Whoop!
Playing Uncle Lewis.
Hey, I am Eric Riegelman. I'm coming from Manitou Springs, Colorado at the moment, and I'm playing Uncle Lewis and Bill, and I have also been around with Flip the Script for the dawn of time, pretty much.
The dawn of a new time, a sad time. Anyway, playing, I love playing Aunt Bethany.
Hi, I'm Heather. I'll be Aunt Bethany, and I'll be your first narrator this evening. I'm also coming at you from the same house as Mr. Griswold there in North Hollywood, and I think this is like my 5th since way back in Ghostbusters.
And speaking of narrators, we've gotten one down. Narrator 2, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Caitlin McCormick. I'm narrator 2, and I am representing all of the police, which is good. And I too started with Ghostbusters. So what a journey, what a ride. So happy to be ending out the year here on Flip the Script, baby, because half of my friends now are Flip the Script people. Okay.
I also appreciate that Sondheim reference. What a journey, what a ride. Anyone? Musical nerds? All right, here we go. Narrator number 3, go ahead, please.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm playing narrator number 3, as well as Mary, the lady at the lingerie shop. And I'm from Valley Village, Studio City area. This is my second Flip the Script read. So excited.
All right. And while we're introducing folks, I want my two BTS people to make a pop-up. So my right hand woman, that's right, ladies get it done. Second in command, Callie Thomas. I just introduced you, but just come and say hi and say something.
Oh, hello, something. Hi. I am what Radnisha has coined SMAD, the stage manager / assistant director, because it's not really film and it's not really stage, but it's somewhere in between. So yay, happy to be here. We've done so much and I'm so excited. We're at the end, and then Zoomies are gonna come next. Zoomie Awards.
Zoomies are coming. Get ready. And then doing our sound tonight, go ahead and make a little cameo appearance. You may recognize her from other things like Black Mirror.
A million of these Flip the Scripts. But yes, I'm Logan. Hello, I'm doing sound tonight.
All right, so I got everybody, right? Did I get everybody? Is this the first time I got everybody? Please say yes. It took me a whole year, but I did it. I did it. This is a personal accomplishment for me, people. I didn't miss anyone. Boom! All right, so I'm going to go ahead and disappear. We're going to get the show started. Did I miss someone? No! What?
Yourself. You.
Oh, I'm Radnisha. Hello. I do things. I hang around. I force these people into my crazy brain schemes, and they go along for the ride. Enjoy tonight's performance of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, otherwise known as A Very Merry Flippin' Christmas. Woo!
Currier and Ives country, rolling hills, firm stands of pine and hardwoods, barns and bridges. Into this timeless beauty roars a new aerodynamically styled Road Queen family Taurus with simulated wood panels hugging the sleek curves. The song continues, a voice belonging to Clark W. Griswold Jr.
Joyful and triumphant, oh come ye.
Clark is driving. His wife Ellen is next to him. His 14-year-old daughter Audrey and 12-year-old son Rusty are in the back seat. Ellen's looking out the window. Rusty and Audrey are looking out their windows. Clark clears his throat, half closes his eyes, and finishes with a deep, majestic voice.
Oh, come ye to Bethlehem.
A moment of revered silence.
Dad, can you explain again what we're doing?
Kicking off our fun old-fashioned family Christmas by heading out to the country in the old front-wheel drive sleigh to embrace the frosty majesty of the winter landscape and select that most important of Christmas symbols.
On a country road, the Taurus drives on. An old battered pickup truck pulls out onto the road. Audrey leans forward in her seat.
We're not driving all the way out here so you can get one of those stupid ties with Santa Claus on it, are we?
Nope, I have 3 of those at home. What we're looking for today is the Griswold family Christmas tree.
Clark smiles proudly. The pickup truck pulls up behind the Taurus.
Is it much further, Clark?
Nah, maybe 3 or 4 more songs and we'll be there.
Audrey looks at Rusty and groans.
Ugh.
Clark breaks into song once again.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
Out on the road, the bent and rust-pitted front bumper of the pickup truck pulls up within a few inches of the rear bumper of the Taurus. Inside, Clark continues singing.
We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Glances in the rearview mirror and stops singing. The pickup truck crowds the mirror. Clark speeds up.
What's the matter?
Some jackass riding my tail.
Ellen and the kids look around behind. The pickup horn blows.
Slow down and let him pass.
Clark slows down and the pickup pulls around him. Clark blasts his horn and sneers as the pickup pulls past him.
Clark, don't provoke them.
Clark flashes his lights and beeps his horn.
Hey kids, look, a deer.
He points out the window, and as the kid, Clark flips to pick up a double bird. He looks at Ellen and chuckles, proud of himself. He turns back from Ellen and gasps and stomps on the brakes. The pickup has jammed on its brakes, and the Taurus rides up close. Inside the car, the kids jerk forward. Ellen is hurled forward, and Clark grits his teeth and nearly bends the wheel over. The farm boys look out the rear window of the pickup truck, laughing as they pull away. Inside, Clark is angry and committed to escalating the conflict. He hits the gas. Out on the highway, Taurus squeals out hot after the truck. Ellen barks at Clark.
Slow down!
Hey, you want to ride behind somebody that does something like that? I'm going to get around him and leave him safely behind us. Want to burn some dust here, huh? Eat my rubber.
He floors it.
Dad, I believe the expression is burn rubber and eat my dust.
Yep, and I hope they're hungry.
The Taurus pulls around the pickup and passes it. Inside the car, Clark smiles and waves to the pickup.
Eat my road grit liver lips.
Inside the pickup, a pair of inbred, red-cheeked young sheep bangers and a gnarled old man at the wheel watch as the Taurus passes. They are dressed in flannel shirts and dirty quilted nylon hunting jackets. From their point of view, Ellen shrinks down in her seat, and Clark waves arrogantly. The Taurus pulls around in front of the pickup truck. From the pickup truck bed, a semi hauling a load of timber has pulled up behind. Clark smiles with satisfaction in the Taurus.
That's enough of that. Anyway, kids, speaking of Christmas trees, can one of you tell me what kind of tree was the first used displayed at the White House?
The pickup has pulled alongside Clark. Ellen and the kids notice. Clark doesn't.
Dad, they're back.
Clark glances out his window. On the highway, the pickup pulls in front of the Taurus. The semi is behind the Taurus. The semi pulls out to pass the Taurus. Inside, Clark watches as the pickup passes him again.
Clark, stop it! I don't want to spend the holidays dead.
He looks at Ellen as the semi pulls up alongside the Taurus.
Hey, don't worry about it, honey.
Clark returns his eyes to the road, hits his signal, and pulls out. Inside, Ellen, Rusty, and Audrey scream. He sees that he's pulling into the truck. His eyes pop and he shrieks. In the pickup truck, the old man looks in his rearview mirror and does a take. He whips around. His two boys whip around and look out the back window. The semi returns to the proper lane. There is no Taurus. The two boys exchange bewildered looks. On the highway, the Taurus is trapped between the front and back wheels of the high-clearance trailer running at high speed. Mud and road salt from the front trailer wheels is peppering the car. Inside the Taurus, the family is silent with shock. Clark's in a full sweat as he struggles to maintain the exact speed of the truck to avoid being caught in the rear wheels.
We're all right. Thank God we're all right.
Clark, we're stuck under a truck.
You honestly think I don't know that?
Come on, you guys, don't fight.
Well, for Christ's sake, I didn't do this on purpose.
The truck barrels along with the Taurus beneath it. Inside, Clark is maniacally focused on controlling the car. Ellen and the kids are praying.
Forgive us our sins. God.
Is lying about why you got home so late a sin?
Just keep praying.
Is it? I have to know.
Yes.
Forgive me for saying I was at Cassandra Reed's when I was really with Sean Marley under the railroad bridge in town.
Did you know about that, Ellen?
Obviously not.
Isn't that the kid that got picked up for sacrificing June bugs in the cemetery?
This was before that.
What religion are we again?
Our Lady of Jesus, we're about to get crushed by a truck.
Clark takes a deep breath, clutches the wheel tightly, and jerks it sharply to the right. Ahead of the semi, the Taurus pops out from beneath the semi onto the opposing lane. Inside, Clark breathes a sigh of relief and turns on his wipers. Just ahead, a snowplow is pulled over on the shoulder directly in line with the oncoming Taurus. The Taurus hurtles off the road and disappears. It is silent. Countryside peace and tranquility, a virgin snowfield, a long beat, and the Taurus bursts through the snowbank and into view. It returns to the road, crossing the left lane, then the right, and then off the road. At the Christmas tree farm, A large permanent wood sign festooned with colored lights reads, Jolly Jerry's Saw and Save Christmas Tree Ranch. The Taurus blasts past the sign and into a makeshift parking lot, sliding sideways into a parking space. Inside the car, the family is frozen in horror. Clark puts the Taurus in park and turns off the engine. He looks at his watch.
Hey, we made pretty good time.
At the Christmas tree farm, families stumble across the frozen earth between the rows of fir trees, shivering, cursing, grousing. We find Clark, Ellen, Audrey, and Rusty trudging through the snow. The family has had a very hard go of the deep snow. Clark pays it no mind.
Is this air fresh or what? Take a deep breath. Notice that smell?
Smells like pine salt.
And isn't that a Christmassy smell?
Clark, can we pick out a tree while we smell? It's awfully cold.
My toes are numb.
Ellen points out a tree.
There's a nice one over there.
Clark considers it briefly and rejects it.
And the bottom's all dead, hon. Deer probably lifted his leg on it.
They continue their march through the snow.
Dad, didn't they invent Christmas tree lots so people wouldn't have to drive all the way out to nowhere and waste a whole Saturday?
They invented them, Russ, because people forget how to have a fun, old-fashioned family Christmas and are satisfied with scrawny, dead, overpriced trees that have no special meaning. You know, kids, this is what our forefathers did.
I can't feel my legs.
They went out in the woods, picked out that special tree, and cut it down with their bare hands.
Mom, I can't feel my hips.
Clark.
Clark stops to survey the landscape.
Yeah, honey?
Audrey's frozen from the waist down.
Oh, that's all part of the experience.
Clark scans the forest. Something catches his eye. He's spotted the special tree. A chorus of angels fades in.
There it is.
Clark points. The family turns to see what he's pointing at. A perfectly shaped Norway pine. A long beat, and Clark's realized that the tree is 20 feet tall.
The Griswold family Christmas tree.
From the top of the tree down, Clark looks up and admires the tree. Family gathers around him.
Clark, isn't it a little big?
Not that big, it's just full.
Dad, that wouldn't fit in our yard.
It's not going in our yard, Russ. It's going in the living room.
Ellen and Audrey. Ellen pulls Rusty into the family embrace.
Just look at it.
It really is beautiful, Clark.
Something else, huh, Russ?
Yeah, Dad.
Audrey, isn't it a beaut?
She'll see it later, honey. Her eyes are frozen shut.
The most enduring traditions of the season are the best enjoyed in the warm embrace of kith and kin. This three is the symbol of spirit of the Griswold family Christmas.
Dad, did you bring a thaw?
He realizes he's made a mistake, but doesn't care to admit it.
Shit.
Inside the Tree Ranch house trailer, a rotting double-wide serves as the office and residence of Jolly Jerry. The family stands at the front door. It opens. On a sour-looking, middle-aged man smoking a cigarette and wearing a dirty Santa hat.
What?
He offers a friendly smile.
I hate to trouble you, but I didn't bring a saw.
The man puffs on his butt and blows the smoke out his nose.
Rules say buyer provides own damn saw.
He points to a painted sign on the trailer. Black letters on white. It reads, buyer pays in advance. Buyer don't use the ranch as a bathroom. Buyer don't cut down more trees than he paid for. Buyer provides own damn saw. Clark sneaks a glance at Ellen. She gives Clark a look.
I paid $75 for the tree. I need some way to get it out of the ground.
You paid that much for a tree?
Honey, it's huge. It's cold. The holidays are here. I'd really appreciate it if you could help me out.
The man scratches his nose and reaches around behind the door.
Sometimes you just have to ask nice.
Man holds up a shovel. Clark stares at him with alarm. Later, on the highway in the Taurus, Clark's in the front passenger seat. He's frozen, blue, clutching the shovel. We see Ellen and the kids. They are also blue, and we continue to widen until we see the car and the enormous tree tied to the roof. The car pulls ahead, and we see the full length of the tree, branches bound with heavy twine, and a huge root ball. Later that night at the Griswold house, a fine upper middle class dwelling, the lights are on, the Taurus is in the driveway, and the giant tree is resting on its root ball in the front yard. Rusty and a couple of neighbor kids are standing in the driveway looking at the tree. Inside the garage, a chainsaw starts up. The electric door goes up. Clark steps out of the dark wearing a hockey mask and brandishing a chainsaw. The house next door, a couple in their mid-30s is getting out of a Saab parked in the driveway next to the Griswolds. They're handsome, successful, modern suburban professionals, Margot and Todd Chester. They look to the Griswolds, wincing at the roar of the chainsaw. Margot tosses around to Todd to stand at his side.
Looks like the toad overestimated the height of his living room ceiling.
They have a chuckle, a compressed, stiff laugh. They are clearly people devoid of humor. The giant tree is laying in the front yard, still bound with twine. Clark takes the chainsaw to it and cuts it in half. Todd, wearing a cocky grin, yells.
Hey, Griswold, where do you think you're going to put a tree that big?
Obviously, no love is lost on the Chesters for Clark. He's in a bad enough mood as it is. He turns off the chainsaw and pushes the mask up on his forehead, cups his hand to his mouth, and yells.
Bend over and I'll show you.
Todd's smile fades. He looks to Margot. He looks back at Clark, angry at the rude suggestion offered in the presence of his wife.
You got your nerve talking to me like that, Griswold.
Clark yells back.
I wasn't talking to you.
Margot gasps in horror. The chainsaw revs up. In the Griswolds' living room later, the tree is up in the rear corner of the room, and Clark's had to trim both the top and bottom to get it to fit. It's still wrapped up with twine. The family is standing before the tree.
Clark, is there enough room for the star?
The top of the tree is flush to the ceiling. Clark looks up.
I'm sure, honey. I just have a little more trimming to do, but it won't be a problem.
Clark steps up to the tree and takes up a length of twine.
I give you the Griswold family Christmas tree.
Yanks on the twine. The branches release and unfold into the room. Unwrapped, tree is enormous. Branches extend deep into the room. A branch crashes through the side window. Another branch crashes through a back window. A third of the living room's square footage is dominated by the unfurled tree. The Griswolds stand waist deep in pine boughs. The tree is the same diameter at the top as it is at the bottom. It's a pine cylinder 8 feet in diameter. Clark looks at Ellen, and Audrey and Rusty. He says nothing. They say nothing. Outside the house, the lights are on. We can see the glow of a fire in the living room fireplace. Inside a beautiful fire, Christmas music playing on the stereo. It's pleasant and calm, a nearly perfect-looking holiday picture. Clark's wearing a cashmere V-neck. He's untangling a strand of lights. Audrey, Rusty, and Ellen are sitting with bowls of popcorn and cranberries in their laps. Clark has trimmed the Christmas tree branches and denuded the top 12 inches to accommodate the star. He's fishing lights out of a cardboard box.
I can't get my needle through the cranberries.
The popcorn falls apart when you pull the string through it.
Clark walks to the tree with the light strands.
Clark, the old-fashioned ornaments aren't working out too well.
It's all part of the fun, honey. You know, kids, years ago, people couldn't go out and buy their ornaments. They had to make them from things around the old prairie homestead. Colored balls of mud, wood shavings, bits of yarn and string, ox horns, donkey tails, prairie dog whiskers. I'll get the lights up and then I'll give you a hand.
Clark begins stringing the lights on the tree, starting at the bottom. He moves slowly around the tree, stringing the lights as he goes. Rusty reaches into a bowl of popcorn.
Dad, this tradition stuff is pretty cool so far, but I think it might lose its charm if it extended to our gifts. I mean, you're not planning on making our presents, are you?
He loads the popcorn into his mouth. Clark considers the question for a moment.
Sounds like fun, but nah.
Rusty pulls a string and then a row of strung pieces of popcorn out of his mouth. Clark disappears around behind the tree.
And before we know it, you kids will be all grown up and
Clark, what are you doing behind the tree?
putting up the lights.
Nobody looks behind the tree, Dad.
If you just do the front, the tree isn't balanced, believe me. If I didn't put the lights back here, you'd notice a difference.
Watch your eyes, Daddy.
The tree shivers and shakes as Clark works his way around behind it.
I hope you're not getting sap all over your sweater.
Clark gags and coughs.
Hold on, I just swallowed a cocoon. Okay, all better. Have you ever tasted a cocoon? It's a little like cashews, but not as salty.
Clark emerges from behind the tree. He's covered head to toe in sap and pine needles.
What'd you say, honey?
Later on in the kitchen, Clark and Ellen are cleaning Clark's sweater. He's working on one sleeve, she's working on the other. She's picking individual needles off, and Clark's herding them down the cuff.
Did I tell you that I talked to my mother?
Yeah, it's a shame they can't come home for Christmas. I was looking forward to seeing them.
Well, I talked to her today. They changed their mind. My dad couldn't get a good enough deal on the condo in Florida, so they're coming.
Damn. Darn. Great.
Clark pulls a large wad of sticky pine needles off the cuff of his sweater and tries to flick it into the wastebasket.
Let's not forget whose idea it was to have the fun, old-fashioned family Christmas here.
Am I complaining?
Ellen is trying to get the needles off her hands, and all she does is transfer the needles from one hand to the other. They continue talking, not acknowledging the sap and the needles.
No, but I think you're forgetting how difficult it's going to be with all of these people at our house.
They're family, Ellen, not strangers off the street.
Well, they're family, and they don't get along.
They get along.
Clark tries to wipe the wad of pine needles on the edge of the grocery bag lining in the wastebasket. When he pulls his arm back, the bag goes with it. It's now stuck to his hand.
All they do is argue. Who sleeps in what room? Who do the children love more? Clark, it's endless.
Christmas is about resolving differences and seeing through petty problems of family life.
He holds out his hand and the bag stuck to it. Ellen pulls the bag off and it sticks to her hand.
Yeah, well, it's about my mother accusing your mother of buying cheap hot dogs and your mother accusing my mother of waxing her upper lip. And then they stopped speaking for 3 years.
Your mother waxes her upper lip?
She has for years.
It actually doesn't show.
Clark peels his sweater off and tosses it on the table. It's stuck to his hand. He tries to throw it again and the sweater goes nowhere.
Do you really want to listen to my father and your father go at it over who suffered more during the war?
That's all part of it, Ellen. You take the good with the bad.
Well, the damage is done. They're all coming. But just be aware that it's not going to be all sweetness and light, especially since my dad had his back operation.
Ellen puts the bag between her knees and pulls her hand free. The bag stays stuck to her knees.
He's extremely touchy about it.
No problem. Nothing is going to spoil this Christmas.
Clark puts the sweater in his mouth and pulls it off his hands. He shakes his head. The sweater is stuck to his face.
Never your dad.
What?
Not even your dad.
Later in the Griswold house, the lights are out. inside Clark and Ellen's bedroom. They are in bed.
How about a little home shopping?
Clark, it's so late.
I just thumb through your catalog.
Ellen laughs as Clark pulls her to him.
Okay, if I can go through yours first.
Audrey opens the bedroom door and peeks in.
Ooh, what a big catalog this year.
All the better to serve you with.
Clark and Ellen are under the covers.
What's this?
Whoa, you are in the sporting goods section.
Audrey has no idea what.
Oh, sick! What are you guys doing? Ah!
Audrey!
We close up on a Christmas calendar, one of the sort that conceals each date behind a little paper door. Every day in the month of December, one of the little doors is opened to reveal the date and a symbol of the season. Clark's fingers open the first door to expose December 15th and a tiny illustration of a partridge in a pear tree. As Clark draws his hand away, the paper door sticks to his finger and he tears it off. Later that day, downtown Chicago, the Loop, decorated for the holidays. Clark's office building, a new high-rise in the heart of the city. Clark is at the coffee station. His co-worker, Bill Burke, are standing there, sipping coffee and chatting.
Oh, you'll be looking at a nice fat Christmas bonus this year, huh? From what I hear, you have an excellent shot at being named Food Additive Designer of the Year.
Nah.
Oh, well, I'm not kidding. What's the new thing you have over at Food and Drug?
It's a non-nutritive cereal varnish crunch enhancer. It seals the cereal to prevent the milk from penetrating it.
Wow. The big question is, what are you going to do with that big, fat bonus check? Blow it on yourself, I hope.
Me? Heck no. Hey, take a look at this.
Clark removes a worn-color brochure from inside his jacket pocket and hands it to Bill. An insert in the brochure shows an ecstatic all-American family frolic in a deluxe in-the-ground swimming pool and spa. Bill peruses the picture, sufficiently impressed.
You're putting in a pool?
Clark smiles proudly. In the other corridor, we see a flying wedge of black wingtips marching down the hall. Back at the coffee station, Clark admires the brochure over Bill's shoulder.
It's my Christmas present for Ellen and the kids. I'm going to turn the old homestead into our own private summer resort.
Boy, what's it going to set you back?
Can't put a price on happiness, Bill. Plenty. But with the bonus check coming, it's covered. I went ahead and put a $7,500 deposit down, so they'll start working as soon as the ground thaws. With the heater, we can be in that thing by May.
Wow. I guess you're the last true family man. Me? You know, Christmas is a big pain in the ass. I get a sore face from smiling for 5 days at people I hate. I had the perfect holiday last year, you know. I piled the kids in the car, drove by my sister's house, blew the horn, and threw the gifts on the lawn.
You're a sentimental guy, huh?
Well, what's Christmas anyway but an economic high colonic?
Marching wingtips round the corner. We see Frank W. Shirley at the point and two young men off his shoulders a few steps back. Shirley is a stern, stone-faced man in middle age. Minions are young, clean-cut men. They march with military precision and serious purpose, and then stop suddenly.
Clem?
He clears his throat and corrects Mr. Shirley.
Clark.
Clark? Nice to see you. Get back to work.
Bill?
That's Bill, sir. My name's Clark.
Who asked?
Pardon me.
Are you the one who was working on the non-nutritive cereal varnish?
Yes, sir.
I'm giving a speech to a trade group and I'd like to mention it. Write me up a brief summary and have it to me by the end of the day.
My pleasure, sir.
Layman's terms, though. None of that inside bullshit jargon that nobody understands.
Yes,
Got
sir.
it? All right.
Shirley and his bootlicks start down the corridor.
Mr. Shirley.
Shirley stops and turns back to Clark.
We got your Christmas card the other day. My family and I are flattered that you remember us.
Shirley stares at Clark for a confused beat and then looks to one of the young men.
Corporate card, sir.
Oh, right. Don't forget my speech, Bill.
I won't, sir.
They exit. Clark sets his coffee down. He feels foolish.
May not be the warmest guy in the world, but at least he's fair and he signs the checks.
A holiday montage begins. We see a Salvation Army band playing. Crowded downtown department stores, cash registers ringing, screaming kids on Santa's lap, garish displays, shoppers in and out of revolving doors, businessmen testing toys, Santa's having lunch at a counter, heaps of purchases on store counters, gift wrapping, lost crying children, cash and credit cards changing hands, hands rubbing sore feet, businessmen asleep in the mattress department with bulging shopping bags at their sides. Inside the lingerie department of the department store, we see Clark peering into a display case. He looks up and freezes. On cleavage, we see the cleavage belongs to a beautiful young woman.
Can I show you something?
Clark's bent over a display case looking at the delicates.
For your wife? Girlfriend?
Clark's he's very uncomfortable and warm.
Well, I guess it wouldn't be the Christmas shopping season if the stores weren't any less hotter than they are. It's warm in here, isn't it?
The woman smiles. She realizes he's nervous.
Well, you have your coat on.
Do I? Sure I do. How did that happen?
Because it's cold outside?
Could be.
There's an uncomfortable silence.
So you were looking at something?
I couldn't help it.
Excuse me?
Gesundheit.
Do you want me to take something out for you?
Clark's jaw drops. He wheezes. He looks over his shoulder to see if anyone's listening to the conversation. He ignores the question and carries on.
I was just looking for something for my mother, her wife, and obviously she doesn't wear underwear and there's plenty of shopping days left until adulthood, which is to say Christmas. Yuletide, Yule, as in Yule log, not a log. I didn't mean log. I don't have a log. I mean, I do, but not in the sense that you think I said I did, which I said, but not meaning what I said when I said it.
Mops his brow with the back of his hand.
In other words, I'm late, and you've been very helpful and busty, and I've enjoyed talking about my log. And boy, this is the season to be huge. Married.
That's my name.
Huh?
She points to the nameplate on her chest.
Mary.
Christmas.
And a Happy New Year.
Rusty is moving through the crowds with a package in his arms, looking for Clark. Through the crowd, he sees him at the lingerie counter. Clark's laughing and enjoying himself. Mary's showing him a minuscule pair of panties. Rusty watches Clark with suspicious curiosity. At the counter, Rusty approaches Clark.
These are cut high on the hip.
He turns around and displays her bottom.
I'm wearing something very similar. Can you see the line?
Oh, yeah.
Clark turns to Rusty.
Can you see the line, Russ?
Yeah, Dad.
It registers to Clark that he's just addressed Rusty. His eyes bulge and he snaps his head around to Rusty. Rusty looks at Clark. Clark looks at Rusty. Complete terror.
Phew!
Clark and Rusty walk back through the department store with loaded lingerie boxes. Clark's in a nervous sweat as he tries to explain himself to Rusty.
Boy, did I get a lot of shopping done. And that funny-looking gal back there was so helpful.
Funny looking.
That wasn't fair of me. Unusual looking. So tall and skinny and top-heavy. The wide hips, the narrow waist, the real big eyes and lips, and if her cheekbones were any higher, gee whiz, she'd have to open her mouth to put in her contacts. But she was nice, and she knew her underpants, and that's all that's important.
Dad, she was cover girl material.
Yeah, for like a medical journal, sure. Oh. Gee, I hope I remember where I parked the old truckster.
Clark shoos Rusty on ahead.
Dad,
Keep moving, Russ.
But Dad!
He pushes Rusty through a door and takes a look back at Mary. Mary waves at him from the lingerie department. In the department store ladies' room, Clark smiles nervously and walks through the door. And as it closes up, we read the brass sign, Ladies. Inside, there's a collective shriek and a pair of sharp slaps, and a beat Rusty and Clark walk out. Their hair is messed up and they both rub their cheeks. Later, a clear, bright Saturday morning at the Griswold house. Inside the kitchen, Ellen's at the table filling out Christmas cards. She looks up from her work with a troubled look. Some dreadful feeling grips her. In Audrey's room, she's struck by the same uneasy feeling. She looks up from the gift she's wrapping. In the family room, Rusty is watching TV. As the feeling comes over him, he hits the mute button on the TV. In the master bathroom, Clark's trying on a Santa beard. He's taken by the same awful feeling. He slowly removes the beard, a look of terror on his face. Inside the foyer, Ellen walks in from the kitchen. She's nervous and tentative. Rusty comes in from the dining room. Clark comes down the stairs, and Audrey follows Clark. The door knocker sounds 3 hard, loud bangs. Clark's frightened, looking at the front door. He cautiously approaches it. Clark's trembling hand grips the doorknob and slowly turns it. It swings open to reveal 4 arguing grandparents. Clark W. Griswold Sr., Nora Griswold, Art and Frances Pearson. On the front porch, Clark greets the grandparents with open arms.
Folks, Merry Christmas!
Clark steps back as the grandparents rush the house. They engulf Clark, Ellen, and Rusty, and Audrey in hugs and machine gun chatter. It's an invasion.
Clarky, sweetheart!
How you doing, boy?
Nora and shakes Clark Sr.'s hand.
Can't complain, Dad.
Art and Frances descend upon Ellen and the kids. Nora breaks from Clark and pushes past Frances to Rusty. Art returns to Clark. Clark Sr. crosses to Ellen. Rusty, Audrey, Ellen, and Clark hold their positions as the grandparents move between them. Each family member is verbally attacked, hugged, squeezed, and kissed. 100 individual overlapping comments and questions in the span of 30 seconds.
Maybe if your mom would feed you better, you put on some height.
Hey, Clark, you better salt your walk before somebody breaks their skull.
Ellen, are you getting prettier or is my eyesight improving?
It's an article for you in the paper about disease in open mouth kids.
Clark, do you think this mom changed? Dad says it hasn't, but I think it has.
Now don't go sticking us in those bunk beds again, Clark. I don't have the strength to boost your mom up there anymore.
They drained a pint of fluid from my lower back. Hey, Rusty, lift with your knees, never with your back.
Nearly left your father over this back thing. He's unbearable.
Grandma said you're dating fellas. We're gonna have to have the talk.
I talked to your Grandpa Odd and he said he doesn't want any sympathy for his back.
Ellen, dear, you look so tired. It smells stale in here.
I'm gonna need to get my hair done, but I'm not gonna go to your place again. Not after that polished area was scalded my scalp.
Looks like those mosquito bites turned into little molehills, Audrey. You're not listening to that devil music, are you?
Are you getting fresh air and sunshine? All the boys in our neighborhood have after-school jobs.
Ellen, I had a nightmare that you talked Clark into making us sleep in the bunk beds.
Hey, Clark, don't try and save a nickel on heat. I like it at 72. I'm not sleeping in any damn bunk beds either.
As they arrive, they exit up the stairs en masse, yakking all the way.
Wait, what? Yeah, we about whacking your lip.
It's just as though a tornado passed through. Ellen's face is frozen, her eyes fixed in a stare. Audrey's wearing an identical catatonic expression. Her hair's messed up. Rusty, the same expression. He has a large, distinct lip print on each cheek. And Clark finally comes to his senses. He smiles.
This is what Christmas is all about. All right, it's going to be great. I'll be outside for a few hours.
Clark exits out the front door, leaving his stunned family alone. Later that night, in the garage door opens and Clark comes out carrying an extension ladder. Rusty follows with a huge carton of lights and decorations. Clark and Rusty are wearing their winter gear. Clark leans the ladder against the house and Rusty sets the carton down.
We're going to have the best looking house in town, Russ.
Clark reaches into the carton and pulls out a strand of lights.
That's a lot of lights, Dad.
If I'm out in the cold and I'm committed to decorating this house, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to do it big. You want something to be proud of, don't you?
Yeah, I guess.
Sure you do.
You're not going to overdo it, are you, Dad?
When have I ever overdone anything?
Clark gives a tug on the strand, pulling a 3-foot ball of tangled lights from the carton. At Todd and Margot's house in the driveway, they exit, noticing Clark on the ladder. They are dressed for an evening out.
I hope he falls and breaks his neck.
Fall for sure, but we're not lucky enough to have him break his neck.
Clark's climbing the ladder and dragging a strand of lights behind him. As he gets to the top of the ladder, it collapses, sending Clark crashing to the ground. At Margot and Todd's house, they are irritated and fussy.
There should be some sort of ordinance prohibiting outdoors lights.
If we can't keep kids and dogs out of the neighborhood, we're not going to prevent Christmas lights.
Clark resets the ladder against the house and climbs back up and begins stapling light strands to the roof. Inside the family room, Clark Sr. and Art are asleep in the wing chairs. They're snoring. Nora and Francis are watching a Christmas parade on TV. As they construct a prefab gingerbread house, they have to speak up against the loud snoring.
You won't have any left for the roof if you keep eating the shingles.
Nora remote controls the volume up on the TV.
They're stale anyway.
Francis remote controls the volume on the TV. This becomes louder.
Is that the fella from Jeopardy?
Nora turns up the volume even more. The snoring gets louder.
I don't know.
Francis turns up the volume again and the snoring gets louder still.
It's that sports guy who married to the news gal with the drinking problem.
Francis turns up the volume again and again, and the snoring increases.
What?
The left side of the house outside is partially decorated. Clark is 20 feet above the ground, stringing lights under the eaves. He reaches over to secure a strand. The ladder tilts from his weight, and one leg lifts off the ground. Encumbered by the lights and the stapler, Clark struggles to get both of the feet on the ladder back on the ground. As he leans into the house, he accidentally staples his sleeve to the roof. This temporarily stabilizes him. To free himself, he pulls the sleeve and the staple loose. This upsets his balance, tilting Clark and the ladder back away from the house. Right before he crashes backwards into the tree, he grabs a partially stapled strand of lights and uses it as a safety line to pull himself and the ladder back up to the house. Inside the master bedroom, through the bedroom window that faces the street, we see Clark struggling with the ladder, holding on for dear life to a strand of lights. As he slowly pulls himself in, the ladder crashes back into the house, slamming Clark into the window. In the garage, Rusty comes out of the garage carrying a 6-foot plastic Santa.
Dad, where do you want the Santa?
Outside, Clark is on the spine of the roof where he's stapling lights.
Just put him on the lawn.
In the front yard, Rusty sets the Santa down on the lawn. Behind him, a large wooden shutter falls to the sidewalk and shatters. Rusty turns and looks up at the roof.
Dad, I couldn't find the 8 tiny reindeer.
I think they're in the basement, Russ.
Rusty heads into the house. Inside in the kitchen, Ellen and Audrey are making dinner. They have to shout above the snoring and blasting television set.
Would it be indecent to ask the grandparents to stay at a hotel?
Ellen's answer is a tired look.
Can we at least forbid them from answering the phone? Alexander called this morning and Grandpa Clark said I couldn't come to the phone because I was going to the bathroom.
all making sacrifices, Audrey.
Everybody, are you sleeping with your brother? Do you know how thick and twisted that is?
Don't be so dramatic.
Mom, I have nightmares about what he does in his own bed alone.
Honey, I don't know what to say except that it's Christmas. We're all in misery.
As Clark continues crawling along the spine of the roof outside, he loses his footing on a patch of ice, sending him sliding down the roof face first.
Holy hairy hell!
He grabs the gutter as he slides past, his body jackknifes over the eaves. Inside the master bedroom, we see Clark's body slam into the house and knocks a picture off the wall in the bedroom. Outside the house, Clark is dangling from the gutter. He looks to the side as the ladder is several feet away, resting on the gutter. The gutter has pulled 5 feet away from the house. Clark is clinging to it, moving cautiously toward the ladder, which still rests against the moving gutter. He begins inching towards the ladder, sliding his gloves along the gutter. It begins to tear loose from the house, sending the ladder crashing to the lawn. The gutter is filled with solid ice. The ice shoots out of the gutter like a spear. In Todd and Margot's living room, the ice spear crashes through the side window and impales the stereo. Back at the Griswold house, Clark is holding on to the gutter as it continues to tear loose. He realizes that the lower roof is just below his feet. He lets go of the gutter, leaving him standing on the lower roof. He stands for a beat, feeling secure. Suddenly, his feet slide out from under him. He hits the roof on his stomach, shoots off like a rocket, and disappears into a cloud of snow in the bushes below. The front door opens the moment he lands, and Ellen steps outside.
Clark, dinner's ready.
A beat, and Clark answers from the bushes.
I'll be right in, honey.
In the kitchen later on, a grandmother's hand closes the dishwasher door and turns it on. Another grandmother's hand pours water into the coffee machine. A freshly wrapped leftover container is placed on the shelf in the refrigerator, and out on the front lawn that night, Clark, Ellen, Audrey, Rusty, Clark Sr., Nora, Art, and Francis are standing on the front lawn. Clark's worn and tattered from his efforts. His enthusiasm and excitement is unabated. He's holding 2 extension cords ready to plug them in.
You want to hurry up with this, Clark? I'm freezing my baguettes off.
Clark gives Art a sidelong glance. He refuses to let him spoil his...
Are you ready? 250 strands of lights, 100 individual bulbs per strand for a grand total of 25,000 individual miniature imported Italian twinkle lights. 25,000.
I hope nobody I know drives by and sees me standing in the yard staring at the house.
If they know your dad, they won't think anything of it.
Dad.
I dedicate this house to the Griswold family Christmas. Drum roll, please.
No one responds.
Drum roll.
Reluctantly, Ellen, Rusty, and Audrey flutter their tongues in a cheap imitation of a drum roll.
Dad, Mom.
Clark and Nora join in. After a beat, Art and Francis reluctantly flutter their tongues.
Joy to the world.
Clark joins the drum roll, louder and more enthusiastic. He holds up the plug and the outlet, and with great drama, the sound of a crashing cymbal, he joins them. The house is dark. Continuing their drum roll, somewhat dampened, Clark unplugs the cords, gives them a twist, revs up his drums, and joins in again, and joins the extension cord. Nothing. The drums peter out. Clark continues his, but at a lower volume and in an angry tone. He plugs and unplugs the cords a couple of times.
Beautiful, Clark.
Boy, talk about tinkling your money away. I hope you kids see what a silly waste of resources this was.
Worked really hard, Grandma.
So do washing machines, but they don't make very good fathers.
Art and Francis head back into the house.
Oh, it's probably just a bad bulb, son. You know, it goes out if the whole thing doesn't work if one goes out.
Clark Sr. and Nora go inside. Clark stares at the house, seething in anger.
Sorry, Dad.
Good try, Dad.
Clark?
Clark doesn't respond. He just stares at the house.
We'll be inside, honey.
She fixes his coat around his neck to cover his neck.
Don't stay out too late. You have work in the morning, okay?
She leaves a nearly despondent Clark and slips away into the house before he explodes. At Todd and Margot's house in the living room, they've returned home. Todd's looking at the broken window. Margot's looking at the trash stereo system.
Something had to break the window. Something had to hit the stereo.
And why is the carpet all wet?
I don't know, but I'll bet that asshole had something to do with it.
Back in front of the Griswold house, Clark sets the ladder against the house and begins to climb. Inside the house, we see Nora and Clark Sr. are in Audrey's double bed. Their debris are all over the room. Medicines, trusses, clothing, suitcases. A room humidifier is spewing out cold steam. Nora's snoring softly. Clark Sr.'s reading a teen fashion magazine with a flashlight. Rusty and Audrey are sleeping on the hide-a-bed in the family room. She's on her back, awake. Rusty has his arm around her and his face up against her ear. She pushes his arm away and his leg replaces it. She groans.
Get off of me, you little fungus.
In the master bedroom, Ellen's asleep, alone. In Rusty's room, we see a poster on the ceiling of a well-oiled babe in something indecent. The poster is taped to the ceiling. We see Art. He's laying on his back, staring up at the poster with mild curiosity. In Rusty's room, Francis is on the bottom bunk. Art's on the top bunk. In front of the house, we see a lonely figure on a ladder in the dark cold of night, a sky filled with twinkling stars. The next morning, we see the Christmas calendar. Audrey opens up the door marked December 19th. Behind the door is a gingerbread man. Upstairs the next day in the house, Clark peeks out of his bedroom. He looks up and down the hall, then sneaks out of his room with a two-handled shopping bag filled with wrapped gifts. He reaches up to the ceiling. We see the attic fold downstairs. Clark slips his finger in the brass ring, turns it, slowly unlocking the stairs. He pulls down the attic stairs slowly, but the staircase still squeaks. He brings the staircase down to eye level and stops. He listens to see if he's attracted anyone's attention. He looks up at the stairs. The steps, which are collapsed on runners, slide down and hit Clark square in the forehead, making him pass out. Later that day, Clark is climbing up the creaky stairs to the attic again, rubbing his forehead. It's a standard cluttered wood floor, unfinished, unheated attic. He steps carefully over and around the detritus of 20 years of married life to the chimney. He sets down the bag of gifts. He takes out a gift and hides it behind the chimney. As he reaches behind the chimney, he notices something. He brings out a dusty gift-wrapped package. He reaches back around, stretches, grits his teeth as he reaches far beyond the chimney, and he pulls out another wrapped gift. He sets it down and again reaches behind the chimney. He finds another gift-wrapped package. He looks at the gifts curiously. He blows dust off one of the packages and reads the tag. The tag reads, "To Mom, from Clark, Merry Christmas." He looks at another package. The gift tag reads, "Happy anniversary, all my love, Clark." Inside the house in the hallway, Frances comes out of the guest room. She sees the attic stairs are down.
Gee whiz, feel the cold air coming down from up there.
Clark's still in the attic. He picks up a third gift. He looks at the gift tag. It reads, "Happy Mother's Day, love, Clark." Down in the hallway, Frances lifts up the staircase and lets it crash closed. Clark is still in the attic. He freezes. Outside, the Taurus is running. Clark Sr. is in the front. Nora's in the back with Audrey. Ellen's standing at the Taurus. She is going to drive. Clark is still in the attic on his hands and knees, pushing on the attic stairs. It doesn't budge. It's locked tight.
Hello? Ellen? Somebody?
In the foyer, Art and Frances bundle up and exit the front door. They can't hear Clark's faint cries. In the hallway, Clark is banging on the attic stairs.
Help!
Art and Frances come out of the house. Ellen calls to them.
Dad, is Clark coming?
How the hell would I know?
Was he in the house?
If he's not up on the ladder farting around with his lights, he must be in the house.
I'm sure he wants to go to lunch and shopping with us.
You've got another car. He can drive. Me, I have to eat so I can take my back pill.
Clark is still in the attic, and he works his way down to the other side, heading for a small window at the other end. There's a narrow walkway of boards across the joists that runs from one end of the attic to the other. Except for this walkway, the floor is unfinished and consists only of joists and insulation. There are loose floorboards, and Clark's foot steps right down on the end of a loose plank. It sinks under his weight. Clark, anticipating that he's going to get hit in the face with the loose board, quickly steps back. The board he steps back onto flies up and smacks him in the back of the head. The impact throws him forward onto the first board, which flips up and slugs him in the face. Outside, Art and Frances get in the Taurus. Clark presses his face up against a small, dirty attic window, a look of defeat and resignation on his face. Far below, the Taurus pulls away and heads down the street. Clark watches sadly as the Taurus disappears down the street. He sighs in utter defeat. Clark glances to the side and notices that the window is ringed with his inoperative imported twinkle lights. He reaches into his shirt pocket for a new bulb, opens the tiny window, and reaches out to test for bad bulbs. At the department store in the men's accessory department, Clark Sr. and Nora are at the counter looking at manicure sets.
I still think that we could give Rusty an air rifle. That's what he wants.
Ellen said no. You heard her.
All right. Clarky had one when he was a boy.
And he put out all the windows in the garage and you threw it away. No, I think I'll be just as thrilled with a manicure set.
Yeah, you're right. There's nothing more important to a young man than well-groomed fingernails.
Well, this set also includes a nifty toenail clipper.
That's a heck of a nice deal, especially in the summer.
Back in the attic, Clark comes down from the window, returning the failed bulbs to his pocket. He reaches the boards that whacked him earlier. He gingerly steps on both boards, balancing for a moment. Suddenly, the boards fly up on either side of Clark, smacking him both in front and back. We can see the bedroom ceiling is cracking under the weight of Clark's feet, leaving approximate shape of human footprints in the ceiling. Clark is still stepping in between the joints. In the bathroom ceiling, there's more cracked footprints. Clark is rummaging through boxes, looking for a coat. He finds nothing and crosses to another stack of boxes. In the master bedroom, the footsteps continue across the ceiling. Clark is still in the attic, rummaging through another box. He comes up with an old wool scarf. He looks at it with a small degree of satisfaction. In Rusty's bedroom, we see the ceiling with the girly poster above the top bunk. Clark's feet suddenly break through the ceiling and tear through the poster. Clark has sunk his knees into the attic floor. We see the ceiling in Rusty's room and a pair of legs standing on the top bunk. Back at the department store in ladies' accessories, Art and Francis are at a counter discussing a gift for Audrey.
Doesn't Audrey already have a purse and gloves?
This is for when she dresses up.
We see the purse and the gloves. They're taupe leather and a matching set.
We'll have them monogrammed.
Art looks at the price tag.
$110? Forget it. Let's go back to the toy section and get her that loom.
Back in the attic, a while later, Clark is wearing an old fur coat, a hat, and a white lady's set of gloves that he has found amongst the stored junk. He is rummaging through boxes, resigned to his fate. He finds a shoebox, lifts up the lid to reveal yellow Kodak boxes. The old home movies. He takes out several and looks through them. Clark smiles as the inscription on the boxes bring back pleasant memories. Clark shuffles through the boxes. We see written on the tapes, Clark's 5th birthday, vacation to Toledo, Aunt Lou's funeral, and finally, Xmas 59. Clark looks at the box for a moment, and we hear music. We see an 8mm film projected on a white sheet. A title card with the words in glitter. Griswold in the house. We see the Griswold house, a ranch style with a single string of lights around the door. We see the Griswold family. Nora. Clark at age 9. An ancient woman dressed in black. A young sailor. A smashed old priest. A middle-aged man with a loud sport coat, slicked hair, and a pencil mustache, with his arm around a middle-aged woman in a low-cut dress. Sitting in the living room, eating Christmas dinner on TV trays. A metallic Christmas tree stands in the corner. A wobbly pan across the people, squinting in the harsh light. In the attic, Clark is sitting on a child's chair with the projector on a box beside him. The image is projected on a shirt hung from a rafter. Clark smiles at the old images. We see the 8mm film again. A man with a pencil mustache smiles and holds up his middle finger. The family is gathered around a freestanding kettle fireplace singing Christmas carols. On the left side of the frame, we see flames. The camera pans to the curtains. The heat from the floodlights has ignited the curtains. The camera drops again. Then we see the family and 3 firemen toasting the holidays with eggnog. Behind them, the wall is blackened. Then we see Clark Jr. asleep in his bed, despite the floodlights. Clark Sr. is in a cheap Santa suit, coming in the front door with a pillowcase stuffed with gifts. A German Shepherd attacks him. The camera drops to the floor. Then we see Clark Jr. running down the stairs in the morning. Clark Jr. rips open a large gift. He looks up to the camera with a grim expression. He lifts a handful of wool socks from the box. Later that day, outside, the Taurus is in the drive. The grandparents are walking carefully up the slick pavement to the house. In the stairwell, Ellen sneaks up the stairs with packages in her arms. Ellen turns down the hall, stopping at the attic stairs. She reaches up and turns the attic stair lock. Clark, in the chair on the box of memories and the projector fall from the ceiling. Clark and his memories crash on the floor. That night at Todd and Margot's, they've returned home from a run. They're dressed in the best winter running fashions.
I want to take off these clothes and sit in the dark with a glass of wine and kiss every square inch of your body. After you shower, of course.
Of course.
In the front yard of the Griswolds, Clark plants a floodlight in front of Santa Claus and the plastic reindeer and a sign announcing Merry Christmas in glittering plastic letters. Clark feels a degree of satisfaction with the new decorations, even though the lights on the house are still out of order. Ellen comes out of the front door onto the porch. She closes the door behind her and steps out.
Clark,
Ellen walks over to Clark.
are you out here for a reason, or are you just avoiding the family?
No, but I still have a few hundred more bulbs to check. In the meantime, at least I can light up the Major and the Santa Claus and the 8 tiny reindeer and the Merry Xmas sign. That should look pretty good.
Clark picks up the yellow extension cord that the house lights are plugged into. There are 2 inputs on the cord.
You ready?
Do you want me to do the drum roll thing?
No, it's okay. Here goes nothing.
Clark grimaces as he sticks the floodlight plug into the extension cord output. Nothing. Clark stares in disbelief. Ellen winces. The garage door from inside the house opens up. Outside, Clark's holding the cords, staring at the house.
I don't understand. If the house lights don't work, the floodlights don't work.
Was it plugged in?
Do you honestly think I'd check thousands of tiny little lights if I wasn't sure the extension cord was plugged in?
Nora steps into the garage. She hits the light switch. Todd and Margot are sitting in their house on the king-size bed in the dark. Todd's in his shorts. Margot is wearing a satin robe. They clink glasses and kiss. The moment their lips touch, the room is flooded with light. In front of the Griswold's house, it's a spectacular sight. The home edition of Disneyland Electric Parade. The lights in the panorama dim as the house sucks power. We see a home electric meter. It's a spinning blur. We see a power control plant panel. A male hand slaps the button marked auxiliary nuclear on. Back in the garage of the Griswolds, Nora crosses to the refrigerator in the garage and takes out a carton of milk. In the yard, Clark, blasted with light, continues to fiddle with the extension cord, unaware that the lights are on. Ellen's jaw drops.
Clark!
Just a second, honey. I think I know what's wrong.
Nora in the garage crosses to the back door. She turns the lights off. The home electric meter slows down. At Todd and Margot's, they climb off the bed and charge the front window. The lights go off. Margot and Todd, temporarily blinded, crash into the table. At the Griswold house, it's dark.
Turn the lights back on, sweetheart. I can't see what I...
Clark looks up slowly, puzzled. Ellen rushes into the garage. She hits the light switch and looks for the plug. Back at Todd and Margot's, the lights go back on. Todd and Margot are hopping around the room, holding their banged shins. The wine bottles fall into the floor, along with the cheese and crackers and caviar and fruit, flowers, vase, and water. It's a terrible mess, made all the worse by the screaming, bright lighted flooding into the room. At the Griswolds, the lights are back on. Clark yells.
Ellen, I fixed it.
Ellen is in the garage. She follows the extension cord to the plug. It's plugged in. She's puzzled. Clark is still outside yelling.
Everybody out, quick, come look at the lights.
In the foyer, Art and Clark Sr. run in from the family room. The grandmother's from the kitchen. At Todd and Margot's, Todd has the cheese, fruit, wine bottle, vase, and flowers on the table and is carrying it out of the bedroom.
Get a towel, quick. There's wine all over the carpet.
Margot takes off for the bathroom. In the garage, Ellen sees nothing wrong. She heads back to the door, reaching for the light switch. At Todd and Margot's, the lights go out. Margot rams into an armoire. Todd takes a header down the stairs. The Griswolds on the porch, Art and Clark Sr. come out.
What's all the yelling about?
Clark is bewildered. He wriggles the cords furiously. Ellen comes back into the house. She stops as something occurs to her. She thinks for a moment. On the porch, Art, Clark Sr., Audrey, Francis, and Nora are gathered around looking at Clark.
What's he
Nora,
doing?
I haven't the foggiest.
Clark's twisting, shaking, whipping the cords, and cursing. He throws the cords down and, in his rage, socks the Santa.
Damn it! Damn it! Damn it!
Santa's face caves in when Clark slugs it. Clark kicks the reindeer and the sign. Ellen turns and runs back into the garage. On the porch, the family is disturbed by Clark's behavior. Clark rips the cords from the junction, spreads his arms wide, and with great dramatic gesture, rams them back together. Ellen comes back into the garage and she hits the lights. Back at Todd and Margot's, the lights are back on. The room is blown out with light. The armoire is toppled. A television and a component stereo is spilled on the bed, and a tangle of wires and video cassettes, audio cassettes, and CDs. In their foyer, cheese, fruit, flowers, wine, the table, and Todd are littered throughout the staircase. The harsh light is spilling through the living room, dining room, and foyer windows. At the Griswold house, the lights are on for good. Clark is stunned that the lights work. The whole family comes down off the porch onto the lawn, admiring the lights.
Wow. Dad, it's incredible.
Ellen comes out of the house and runs to Clark. He takes her under his arm, Rusty under the other. Audrey hugs him, and they look up at the house with great pride. The family gathers around. There's a great swell of holiday music as we look at the magnificently decorated house. Clark is in tears. The struggle, the frustration, the anger has paid off. The emotion is too much for him. It's a great moment of family warmth and love. Clark embraces Nora, then Clark Sr.
It's lovely, Clark.
You deserve a house like this to spend Christmas in.
Oh, it's a beaut, Clark. It's a beaut.
Dad, you taught me everything I know about exterior electrical illumination.
Oh.
Clark embraces Francis.
Dear Francis, I hope this adds to your enjoyment of the holidays.
It's wonderful, Clark.
Clark embraces Art.
Arthur, Dad, thanks for being here.
Got too many blue lights.
Clark doesn't mind the insult. He regards it as a charming moment of truth and honesty.
I know, Art. Thanks for noticing.
Clark moves from Art to the next person. It's Cousin Eddie. He is dressed in a cheap overcoat with a fake collar and a Kansas City Chiefs stocking cap.
Yeah, the house looks real swell, Clark.
Thanks, Eddie. I hope it enhances your holiday spirit.
Catherine standing next to Clark. She's wearing a quilted car coat. Clark takes her in his arms, hugs her.
Catherine, dear.
Something's suddenly not right. Clark lets go of Catherine. He steps back and looks at Eddie and her.
Eddie?
Catherine thinks the house is gorgeous.
Eddie?
Yeah, I sure hope you didn't do all this on our behalf, Clark. Hey, you kids, come on, get out here. See what Uncle Clark did to the house.
Eddie?
Clark is baffled.
Eddie.
He looks up and is hit with another surprise. The biggest commercially available RV is backed into his driveway. The door opens and two little kids, a boy and a girl, Rocky and Ruby Sue, followed by a mixed breed hound, Snots, jump out. Rocky's 6 and Ruby Sue's 5. The kids and dog run across the lawn. Clark is stunned. He looks at Ellen.
Eddie.
Ellen is equally stunned. She shrugs. She doesn't have any idea why Eddie and Catherine have shown up. Eddie and Catherine greet the grandparents as the kids walk up.
All right, now, if you guys don't remember, this here is Rocky.
You got a kiss for me?
Oh, I better take a rain check on that one, Art. He's got some kind of a lip fungus they haven't identified yet.
Art pats Rocky on the head.
Oh, and you remember Ruby Sue?
Oh my gosh, her eyes aren't even crossed anymore.
Yeah, that's something, ain't it? I mean, she falls in a well, her eyes go crossed, and she gets kicked by a mule, they go back to normal. I don't know.
Eddie slaps Snots on the flanks.
And this here is our pride and joy, Snots.
Pretty name, Ed.
Yeah, see, we named him that because he's got sinus troubles.
Eddie sniffs, clears his throat, and spits. Clark looks at him with disgust.
Snots, now you go on and roll over, let Uncle Clark scratch your belly. Clark, you never seen a set on a dog like this one's got.
That's all right, Eddie.
Good, you rub his belly, Clark. He'll love you to the day you die.
I really shouldn't. My hands are all chapped. Yeah.
We would have called, but Eddie really wanted it to be a surprise.
Clark, you surprised?
Surprised? Eddie, if I woke up tomorrow morning with my head sewed to the carpet, I couldn't be more surprised than I am right now.
Ellen gives Clark an angry look.
We have plenty of room. I think.
Well, I mean, we're pretty much set up in the RV. It's a little tight, but you know, we didn't come to impose. So.
Hell, there's plenty of room. Quit being so damn polite, Ed. You want to spend the holidays with 4 people jammed toe to nose in a motorhome?
Eddie reevaluates his position.
Well, I mean, Catherine and me, we're comfy in there. Maybe you folks wouldn't mind the youngsters shacking up with you. I mean, after that drive, we sure could use some time together. Honey, why don't you run and get the kids' things? And hey, don't forget the rubber sheets and the gerbils.
Later in the living room, Clark and Eddie are standing at the tree sipping eggnog. Eddie's wearing a flannel shirt tucked into his sweatpants and leather tie shoes. He's showered. His hair's combed back.
That's a honey of a tree, Clark. Is that a real one?
Dug it out of the ground myself.
Oh, is that a fact?
Clark reaches under the tree. Snots is drinking water out of the tree stand. Clark shoos the dog out from under the tree.
Hey, get out of there. Come on.
Oh, hey, don't worry about that, Clark. A little tree water ain't gonna hurt him. Hey, before we left, he drank half a quart of Pennzoil. Boy, when he lifted his leg the next morning.
If he drinks the water out of there, the tree will dry out.
Oh, well, hey, Snots, you get out of there. Go on, get in the kitchen, get you something to eat. Go on.
The dog saunters out of the living room.
He's cute, ain't he? I mean, the only problem is he's got a little Mississippi leg hound in him. So, you know, if the mood catches him right, he'll just grab your leg and go to town, you know? So you don't want him around you if you're wearing short pants, if you know what I mean. But a word of warning, though, Clark, if he does latch onto you. It's best to just, let them finish.
I just can't believe you're actually here in my living room. I never thought the day would come.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too, Clark. I mean, it's a crying shame the older kids couldn't make it, though. I got the daughter in the clinic right now, getting cured off the wild turkey, and the older boy, bless his soul, he's preparing for his career.
College?
No, carnival.
You got to be proud.
Oh yeah. I mean, he worked last season as a pixie dust spreader on the Tilt-A-Whirl. He thinks maybe next season he'll be guessing people's weight or barking for the yak woman. You ever see her, Clark?
Sorry to say I haven't.
She's ugly as sin. She's got big horns growing above her ears, but she's a real sweet gal, and a hell of a good cook.
Can I refill your eggnog, get you something to eat, drive you out to the middle of nowhere and leave you for dead?
No, I'm doing fine, Clark. I'm doing fine. I'm just glad to be here.
There's a lull in the conversation.
Yeah, so when did you get the tenement on wheels?
Oh yeah, that there is an RV. Uh-huh. Yeah, I borrowed it off my buddy. He took my house. We got the RV. I mean, it's a good looking vehicle, ain't it?
Beautiful. And it looks so nice backed into my driveway.
Yeah, it sure does. But hey, don't you go fall in love with it, Clark, because when we leave next month, it's coming with us.
Huh?
That night, inside the house, the whole house is glowing. Neighbors have gathered in the street and on the adjacent lawns. From several blocks away, the house continues to glow. Clark's whole town glows in the distance. In Rusty's bedroom, we see Art. He's staring up at the ceiling, bewildered. Two big footholes are punched through the bimbo's chest on the poster. Art gives up trying to figure out what happened to the poster. He rolls over and settles into the bed. He turns away and reveals that his back is covered from head to toe with plaster dust. As he pulls the covers up around his shoulders, a cloud of dust rises. In the family room, Rocky and Ruby Sue are sleeping on the hide-a-bed. A cage packed with anxious gerbils rests between them. Rocky smiles, and we hear the soft splatter of water on rubber. We look at the floor and see Rusty and Audrey. Rusty is laying on top of Audrey. She's struggling beneath his dead weight. In the master bedroom, Clark and Ellen are in bed, awake. The lights are off. The room is illuminated by the outdoor lights.
I'm not complaining. I just don't know how we can have a nice Christmas with Eddie here.
Well, they are sleeping in the driveway.
And isn't that a kick in the nuts? How can this house look like anything but a junkyard with a shack on wheels parked in the driveway?
You've never judged anyone by how much or how little they have, Clark.
No, and I never will. If Eddie was rich...
There's a long pause.
He'd be worse. Good night, sweetheart.
The next day, we see the Christmas calendar again. Eddie's greasy finger tears off a door marked December 21st. And we see a sprig of mistletoe. He leaves a big smudge mark on the calendar. That morning outside, we see Santa's crushed face, and the RV door opens up and Eddie lets Snot out. Snot sniffs out on the lawn. Now it's mid-morning at Clark's office building. It's the executive outer office. Clark pokes his head inside. No secretary. He tiptoes in, holding a poinsettia plant. He crosses to a door, knocks twice. A vast room with an enormous desk. Shirley is seated behind it, having a conversation over the speakerphone.
Get Ed Leftick up here and have him look over these figures.
Clark enters with the poinsettia.
Mr. Shirley, Merry Christmas.
Mr. Shirley's become Scrooge, counting his money. He doesn't look up.
What do you want?
Clark edges forward.
It's me, Clark Griswold. I have a gift for you.
Frank Shirley is back to normal. He waves toward the opposite wall.
Put it over there with the others, Grisball.
By the way, sir, hope my report helped out at the trade show.
I'm sure it did. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm in the middle of an important call.
He picks up the receiver. Clark turns and puts the poinsettia on the sideboard and sees it's jammed with about 50 other poinsettias. That night, the Taurus rolls through the heavily wooded, snow-covered hills. We see a big sign that reads, Oshkogagon State Park. We're at the sledding hill in the parking lot at the bottom. We see a warming house. Outdoor lights illuminate the hill. Christmas carols are playing on the PA. At the top of the hill, Clark, Eddie, Audrey, Rusty, Ruby Sue, and Rocky are standing, getting ready to sled. They each have a saucer sled. Clark's on one knee with his saucer sled upside down on the snow. He's shaking a spray can.
This is a new non-caloric silicone-based kitchen lubricant my company is working on. It creates a surface 500 times slicker than any cooking oil. We're really going to fly down the hill with this stuff.
Has anybody ever put it on a sled?
Not that I know of.
Oh, hey, don't put any of that on my sled, Clark. You know that metal plate in my head?
How could I forget it?
He sprays the bottom of the sled.
Yeah, well, I had to have it replaced because whenever Catherine revved up the microwave, I'd piss my pants and forget who I was for about half an hour or so. So over at the VA, they replaced it with a plastic one, and it ain't as strong, you know? So I don't think I ought to be sailing down a hill with nothing between my brains and the ground but a piece of government plastic.
Clark's growing weary of the endless blabbering.
Do you really think it matters, Ed?
Well, yeah, you see, the plate, it runs underneath my part here. And, you know, if this gets dented, I mean, my hair, it just ain't going to look right.
Clark groans and flips his sled right side up.
Let me go first and see how it works.
Hey, you be careful there, Clark.
Nothing to worry about, Ed.
Clark mounts the sled.
Going for a new amateur recreational saucer sled land speed record, Clark W. Griswold Jr.
Clark sets his palms in the snow and rocks the sled back and forth. It's extremely slippery.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be some kind of wild ride.
Clark rocks himself back, holds a split second, and then pushes off. The sled flies off the peak of the hill. Looking straight down the hill, Clark's sled streaks down the hill, across the flat, into the dark beyond. One moment he's on top of the hill, the next he's gone. We can see Eddie and the kids stunned at how fast Clark flew down the hill. In the parking lot, Clark's sled sails all through the cars. Clark is holding for dear life, screaming all the way. He's still in the parking lot, barely missing cars, people jumping out of the way, and he's headed for a Jeep. He leans back and closes his eyes in anticipation of serious injury. The sled shoots under the Jeep and out. Clark's sled flies out of the parking lot onto the street. He reappears every few seconds as he passes through the pools of street lamp light. He heads towards a heavily wooded area. Branches are breaking, birds are roused and squawking. In front of a shopping center, we see the charity toy collection box. Its big and red green metal bin resting in the parking lot. In the parking lot, out of the darkness, into the harsh mercury vapor light, Clark comes out on his sled. Sparks fly as he strikes the dry pavement. Clark opens up his eye for a terrified moment. The collection box is coming up fast. A freshly painted Santa and the words, "Ho, ho, ho," is on the red bin. Clark braces for the crash. At the top of the hill, Eddie and the kids in the distance hear the metal boom of Clark's impact.
Bingo.
At Clark's office, he's sitting behind his desk, staring out the window. Bill walks in.
Hey, Clark?
Clark turns in his chair.
You staying late?
Oh, just finishing up a few things. Last day of the year for me.
Well, have a really Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Bill. You too.
Bill starts to exit. Clark stops him.
Bill, did you get your bonus yet?
Yeah, I just talked to my son. He said a messenger brought a company envelope to the house. I guess that's it. Nothing like waiting until the last minute, right? Did you get yours?
Clark shakes his head no.
Well, if it's not already at your place, it has to be on its way, right? Don't worry about it.
If I don't get my bonus, I'm in it up to here.
Well, don't sweat it. All right, it'll come. Merry Christmas.
Same to you, bud.
Bill leaves. We see Clark. He's concerned that something has gone wrong. Back at the house, the exterior lights are on. The interior lights are off, except for a single light in the kitchen. It's late. In the kitchen, we see Clark in a red bathrobe, standing at the sink, looking out the window. He's lost in troubled thought. Out the window, it's daytime. The pool is in and the kids are in the water. Clark has a big, happy, dreamy smile. Clark and Ellen have joined the fantasy. Clark slips deeper into his fantasy. And Mary, the girl from the department store, is bouncing on the diving board. She waves at Clark in the kitchen, beckoning for him to come out. In the window, Clark looks out. It's dark inside, light outside, and Mary is reflected in the window glass. Clark's in his robe. He shakes his head. No, he's embarrassed. Mary gives him a big, sexy smile. She mouths, "Come on." Clark begs off again. Mary reaches around from her back and unfastens her top. Clark presses his face to the cold glass. Mary kicks off her bathing suit bottom. Clark's face is severely pressed to the window. The bathing suit bottom hits the floor. In the kitchen, Ruby Sue appears in the doorway in her pajamas, rubbing sleepy eyes. She squints. She sees Clark. Her jaw drops. Clark is leaning against the sink with his face pressed to the window. We hear a splash. We see the swimming pool, Mary surfacing and swimming to the ladder. Clark is straining for a better view. Mary begins to rise from the water. And we see Ruby Sue. Her eyes are wide and her jaw is slack.
Holy shit, Santa Claus?
We see Clark. It's dark again. The pool fantasy has evaporated. He's startled. Clark lets out a sharp cry as he turns quickly from the window to face Ruby Sue. Ruby Sue approaches Clark.
Uncle Clark, are you Santa Claus?
Oh, you scared me. No, sweetheart, I'm not Santa Claus. I wish I was.
Clark sits at the kitchen table and pats his heart. He composes himself.
How come you're up, sweetheart?
Rocky bit my thumb.
Huh?
My mom puts bad tasting crap on his thumb so he doesn't suck it. So sometimes he sucks mine and when he has a bad dream, and sometimes he bites it.
Oh.
Kim's nervous because Christmas is almost here.
Clark senses a problem. He sits down and offers his knee to Ruby Sue.
Excited or nervous?
Shitting bricks.
You shouldn't use that word.
Sorry. Shitting rocks.
Don't use the S word.
Oh. Him's nervous because he don't know if he's getting nothing.
Are you in school?
First grade.
Good school system. I don't think he should be nervous, and you shouldn't be either. Because if you're good, Santa Claus knows it. If you believe in him and you believe in your mom and your dad, and you've been good all year, Santa Claus will bring you something.
Sometimes I think all that Santa crap's just bull. If he was so real, how comes he didn't give us squat last year? We didn't do nothing wrong and we got the shaft.
I know for a fact that Santa Claus is real. And somehow in the next couple days, I'm going to prove it to you. He comes to this house every year. I've seen him myself.
That's for true?
Cross my heart. It's a good idea you came to stay with us, isn't it?
I love it here. You don't got to put your coat on to go to the bathroom. Your house is always parked in the same place.
I think you better get back in bed.
How come you ain't sleeping?
Oh, I was just looking for something. Did you notice that a man came to the house today to deliver a letter?
Ruby Sue thinks hard as she recalls the day.
No. How come?
Just wondering. You go back to bed now, okay?
Okay.
She slips down off his lap and waddles across the kitchen. She stops and turns back to Clark.
Sure you ain't Santa Claus?
Clark smiles and shakes his head. Ruby Sue leaves.
Can't even afford to be an elf.
Clark walks back to the kitchen window and looks out. Mary's bathing suit is lying on the frozen ground in the cold, dark, barren backyard. In the kitchen the next morning, Rusty, Audrey, Francis, Nora, Clark Sr., Art, Ruby Sue, Catherine, and Rocky are at the kitchen table. The kitchen looks like an army mess hall. In the living room, Clark's standing at the window, looking out. Ellen walks in.
Aren't you having breakfast?
Not really in the mood.
What are you looking at?
The silent majesty of winter's morn, the clean, cool chill of holiday air, and an asshole in his bathrobe, emptying a chemical toilet into my sewer.
She pulls the curtain aside and looks out. Outside, Eddie, unshaven, in his bathrobe, black socks, brown loafers, a baseball cap, with bare legs and a cigarette, is watching over a 4-inch plastic corrugated hose that runs from the RV across the lawn to the curb into the sewer. Snots is on a rope anchored to the manger, the Santa, the busted reindeer, assorted trash bags are piled up on the curb. Eddie takes a drag off his cigarette, spits, and looks to the window. He notices Clark and Ellen in the window. He smiles and waves. Clark and Ellen give limped, forced smiles and waves. Eddie yells to them.
The shitter was full!
Clark and Ellen are inside. Ellen smiles sheepishly. Clark sighs.
Have you checked our shitters lately, honey?
Clark, please. He doesn't know any better.
Well, you ought to know it's illegal. That's a storm sewer. If it fills up with gas, I pity the person who lights a match within 10 yards of it.
At Todd and Margot's, Todd comes out of the front door in sweats. He's on his way for a run. He notices a strange odor. He looks to Clark's house. He sees Eddie smoking his cigarette, kicking the hose to keep it flowing. The RV is in the drive, Snot's tied to the manger. Eddie sees Todd. He waves.
Merry Christmas! Shitter was full!
Todd is shocked. Eddie leans down and picks up Clark's saucer sled. The bottom is worn clean through. He hurls it towards the RV, intending to keep it. In the living room, Clark turns away from the window in disgust. Ellen seems to have a terrible suspicion that Catherine and Eddie don't have any presents for their kids.
Clark, you know, Rocky said something about Eddie telling him that Santa wasn't coming this year.
Ruby Sue said something like that last night. How could they not have anything for their kids?
Eddie's been out of work for close to 7 years.
In 7 years, he couldn't find a job?
Catherine says he's been holding out for a management position.
Jeez, what a worm.
Later that day, inside a large chain toy store jammed with last-minute holiday shoppers, Eddie and Clark are strolling down an aisle.
How's the live bait business, Ed?
Eddie seems preoccupied, looking through different things down the aisles. Clark wants to talk to him, but Eddie doesn't seem to notice.
I can't complain. How you doing, Ed?
Oh, like I said, not that good, Eddie. So are you
didn't-
pretty well as far as shopping goes?
You know, I can't lie to you, Clark. And the truth is, things aren't going that good at all. You know, I said I borrowed the RV. It's mine. It's from a neighbor, you know, we live in it. So I had to sell off the house and the barn and the 10 acres. All I kept was a 50-foot plot and the pigs and the worm farm. If I had all the money back, you know, me and Catherine sent that TV preacher that was screwing the hockey players, but I don't.
What about the kids?
Well, no, I just sent the money to the preacher himself. The kids, they can fend for themselves. I don't give a shit.
Your kids, Ed.
Oh, well, yeah, that's the bitch of it, Clark. You know, I don't know what to do. I mean, we coasted into town on fumes. Gas money ran out over Kankakee, so.
Ellen and I want to help you give the kids a nice Christmas.
No, I couldn't do that, Clark.
No, we insist.
Oh, I'm not one for charity, Clark.
I know that, idiot, but it's not charity. It's family, all right?
I don't know.
If you don't tell me what they want, I'm just going to get stuff on my own.
Boy. Well, this is a nice surprise, Clark. Just a real nice surprise.
Eddie reaches into his pocket and pulls out a piece of brown paper grocery bag.
Here's a little list, Clark. It's alphabetical, starting with Catherine, and if it wouldn't be too much, I'd like to get something for you, Clark. Something real nice.
The next day, we see Ruby Sue's hand open a door on the Christmas calendar marked December 24. Behind that paper door is a candy cane. Ruby Sue leans towards it and licks it. That morning, it's a beautiful sunrise, except for the RV and the dog tied to the manger and the Santa and the broken reindeer on the curb. The house looks great. In the living room, we see the Christmas tree. Gifts are placed underneath it. In the dining room, a floral centerpiece is placed on the table. In the kitchen, potatoes are being peeled. Catherine is combing Rocky's hair. Art ties his Christmas tie. Ruby Sue lights the Christmas candles. The table is set. Outside of the house at dusk, the lights are on. We see snacks. Eddie puts a ribbon around his neck. In the foyer, it's dusk. We see Clark and Rusty helping an elderly woman, Aunt Bethany, and her husband, Uncle Lewis, into the house. Rusty is following behind with their gifts. Uncle Lewis is in his late 80s, cranky, stooped, dressed in a tweed suit, and sucking on a long cigar. Aunt Bethany is also in her late 80s, 4.5 feet tall, wearing a well-worn mink, a polyester pantsuit, and a hat. She's taking 2-inch steps, clinging to Clark.
Don't throw me down, Clark.
I'll try not to, Aunt Bethany.
Okay.
Clark now sees Aunt Bethany as a skeleton.
We're here.
Say, Grizz, me and Aunt Bethany figured out the perfect gift for you.
Gee, Uncle Lewis, you didn't have to get me anything.
Damn it, Bethany, he guessed it!
Ellen, Catherine, and Francis come into the foyer from the kitchen.
Oh, that was fun. I love riding in cars.
Ellen helps Aunt Bethany off with her coat as Francis and Catherine greet her.
Oh, Aunt Bethany, you look so wonderful. Oh, Uncle Lewis.
How do, princess?
Hello, Bethany. Lewis.
Francis embraces Uncle Lewis. The rest of the family crowds into the foyer. Lewis shifts his cigar in his mouth to keep it from setting Francis's hair on fire.
Watch the stingaroo, okay? I don't want you to burn your wig.
In the foyer, Rusty and Ruby Sue are there. Ruby Sue tugs on Rusty's coat to get his attention. He looks down at her.
Who are the old geezers?
That's your mom and my mom's great aunt and uncle.
What's so great about them?
In the foyer, Ellen helps Bethany with her stole. Clark tries to help Lewis with his.
Get your fingers out of my armpits!
He peels off his hat and hands it to Clark. He's bald. Clark looks at Lewis curiously. Something's not right. He looks at the hat. Inside the hat is the gray toupee. Lewis has removed his hair and his hat. Clark takes the toupee out of his hat and attempts to place it back on Lewis's head. He stands behind Lewis, waiting for his opportunity.
Where do you want the presents, Mom?
In the living room, thanks. Aunt Bethany, you should have done that.
Oh dear. Did I break wind?
Jesus, did the room clear out, Bethany? Hell no! Okay, she means presents. You shouldn't have bought the presents.
Clark tries to drop the toupee on Lewis's head. He moves forward. Ellen sees him. He explains what happened in gesture.
Well, heavens, it isn't every day that somebody moves into a new house.
They didn't move into a new house.
You'll have to speak up, dear.
Fed up, Uncle Lewis throws his arms in the air and heads for the living room. Once his back is turned, Clark flips the toupee frisbee style at Lewis. It lands with a plop onto his head. Lewis looks up, pats the toupee, and straightens it before walking into the living room. Back in the foyer, Clark takes Bethany's coat from Ellen and hangs it in the coats in the closet. Rusty stands awkwardly with the gifts.
Mom?
Just put the presents in the living room.
But, Mom...
Not tomorrow, Rusty, now.
This house is so much bigger than your old one.
Why don't you go with Catherine into the living room and say hello to everybody?
Oh, sure.
Catherine and Francis help her into the living room.
Mom?
What?
This box is meowing.
Clark takes the box from Rusty and shakes it. From inside, we hear a muted cat's meow.
She grabbed her goddamn cat.
Well, take it to the kitchen and open it up.
Well, then we'll have a cat running around.
Well, you can't leave it in a box.
Why would somebody wrap a cat in a box?
Oh, she gets confused, Rusty. She's old. She and Uncle Lewis don't have much money. She takes things from around the house and wraps them up as gifts.
Oh, great. I can't wait to see what I got.
Rusty walks off to the kitchen with the other gifts, but Eddie returns with one of them after.
Hey, this one here is leaking.
A green substance oozes from the corner of the box. Eddie sticks his finger in the goop and licks it off.
It's lime.
Ellen hesitantly samples it too.
Oh, God. It's her Jell-O mold. I'll take it. Everybody just go into the living room.
The foyer clears, leaving Ellen and Clark with their packages. Ellen's is leaking, Clark's is howling. In the living room, Aunt Bethany has a fat Persian cat in her lap. Audrey sits next to her looking bored. Lewis, Clark, and Eddie are standing at the tree.
I know, I have a cat just like this one at home.
Audrey forces a polite smile.
Clark, that's the ugliest goddamn Christmas tree I ever did see. What the hell did you do to it?
Louis reaches out and touches the branches.
I mean, I'm glad I'm not sleeping here tonight.
You and me both, Louis.
Yep, this son of a bitch can't wait to catch fire and kill a household, I'm telling you.
Boy, you guys smell that?
Oh dear, I'm so sorry.
The turkey, Bethany. He's smelling the turkey.
We are close up on a magnificent 20-pound turkey. It looks perfectly prepared and perfectly presented on the dining room table. The whole family has assembled around the beautifully decorated table. Clark looks at the turkey with delight.
Catherine, if your turkey tastes half as good as it looks, we're in for a real treat.
Catherine smiles sheepishly.
Save the neck for me, Clark.
Clark throws Eddie a quick, disgusted look before he regains his smile as he prepares to carve the turkey. He puts a gleaming knife to the turkey. It punctures the hind end of the bird, and a great gush of gas escapes. Everyone leans at the table as the turkey sputters and farts. The slit on the skin flutters as the gas escapes. The sputtering stops, and Clark leans in to examine the damage. As he does, the legs slowly begin to rise up on their own. He leans back again with alarm. The legs are standing straight up, and the wings pull away from the body and extend themselves. The incision Clark made begins to expand. It tears slowly from crotch to the neck with the sound of ripping canvas. Finally, the skin separates like two hard brown flower petals to expose the bones and dry, dusty threads that used to be breast meat. Clark fishes through the debris and comes up with a burst can of prepared poultry stuffing.
Ed, did you make the dressing?
Eddie smiles.
Yeah, I gotta confess, Clark, it's store-bought. I mean, I found it in the RV last night. All you gotta do is pop the top and serve it up.
Clark, flabbergasted at the stupidity, glances down at Ellen, who offers a stern, silent warning for him to keep his thoughts to himself. Meanwhile, in the living room, Bethany's cat approaches the Christmas tree and sniffs at the needles. When we return to the dining room, we see that Clark has served everyone their turns. He clinks his glass to make an announcement.
Well, since this is Bethany's 80th Christmas.
Everyone breaks into applause, including Aunt Bethany.
I think she should lead us in the saying of grace. Bethany?
What, dear?
Grace.
Grace? Oh, she passed on, goodness, 30 years ago?
For the love of God and country, she won't wear a hearing aid because she says it makes her look old. They want you to say the grace.
Aunt Bethany shakes her head no. She doesn't get it.
The blessing!
Finally, Bethany catches on. She closes her eyes and bows her head. The others follow suit. After clearing her throat several times, she begins.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For all.
Back in the living room, Aunt Bethany's cat is now playing with the Christmas tree lights. She bats at them and bites a strand. As she backs up, some of the lights are pulled off the tree. Some time has passed when we get back to the dining room, and everyone is eating in silence. Art picks through the overcooked food with disgust. Nora scowls at Eddie's kids' horrible table manners, and Louis power spits an olive into his hand. Francis removes and replaces the huge serving fork that Bethany is eating with, and Bethany is completely oblivious. Eddie sneaks food to the dog under the table, and Clark Sr. cuts Audrey's meat for her. Rusty struggles to keep Rocky out of his food, and Catherine silently apologizes for her family's manners.
I heard on the news that an airline pilot spotted Santa Claus's sled on his way in from New York.
The adults look to the kids for their reaction. Ruby Sue and Rocky smile.
Are you serious, Clark?
Clark gives Eddie a tired look. Clark takes a bite of Jell-O mold and hears a crunch. He continues to chew, but something just doesn't taste right. He looks down at his plate and sees that there are little dry cat food stars in the mold. He quickly takes a sip of water and swishes it around his mouth.
Aunt Bethany, by any chance, does your cat eat Jell-O?
Ellen gives Clark a dirty look, so he finishes chewing and the cat food in his mouth.
You know, I don't know about the cat, but I sure am enjoying it. Here, Clark, you want to load me up a little more there? It is good.
From underneath the table comes a loud, ugly dog cough. Everyone but Bethany stops eating. Again, the dog coughs with a deep, resonant hacks. The force from the final, extremely long cough causes the dog to hit the table leg and rattle the glassware.
Ed?
Yeah, Clark?
What's wrong with your dog?
Honey, maybe the bow you put around his neck is too tight.
Eddie peeks under the table.
Oh, no. He's just yakking on a bone. Oh, there, he's got it up. He's all right now.
Maybe if you didn't feed him from the table.
No. He's probably just nosing around in the trash.
We cut to Clark and Ellen in the kitchen, where trash is strewn across the kitchen floor. Clearly, snot has indeed gotten into the trash and has spread it everywhere. They have to clean up the mess.
I don't know why he isn't in here cleaning this up. It's his dog.
If you want to go in and have dessert, I'll finish.
That's all right. When I was cutting the pie, I found half a Band-Aid.
Oh, that must have been Ruby Sue. She was helping roll the dough. Did you find the other half?
Back in the dining room, Bethany is chewing on something with considerable difficulty. A piece of pie sits in front of her. Lewis leans back and yells back to the kitchen.
Hey, Grizz! Grizz, you're not doing anything constructive. You want to run into the living room and get my stogie?
In the kitchen, which is now almost free of trash, Clark looks to Ellen, annoyed with the order from Lewis.
Anything else I can get for you, Lewis?
He's an old man. This could be his last Christmas.
He keeps it up, Ellen. It will be his last Christmas.
He exits the kitchen and heads towards the living room, where the cat is still chewing on the lights. It yanks its head, pulling the strand a little bit more. Clark walks in and takes his Uncle Lewis's cigar case from the coffee table. The lights on the tree suddenly go out. He looks at the tree, puzzled. After circling the tree, looking for the problem, he notices that the lights have become unplugged. He bends down and plugs one strand of lights in. Success! The lights come back on. As he begins to stand, he sees that a second strand of lights have been unplugged. He reaches back down and plugs that strand in too. There's a tremendous electrical sizzle, and the lights dim. A second later, there's an explosion, and we hear a horrendous screech from under the club chair. The house falls dark. Once the circuit breakers have been flipped back on, we see that the rest of the family has gathered in the living room. Clark, Eddie, and Ellen are standing by the chair. Ellen holds her nose because the room smells horrible.
Oh, what's that smell?
I think that's your chair there, Ellen.
Move it away from the wall.
I told you you had too many plugs in one socket.
Clark grumbles to himself and helps Eddie move the chair away from the wall. There's a collective gasp as everyone sees what was beneath the chair.
Oh, God.
There's a blackened, smoldering outline of a cat scorched into the carpet. Aunt Bethany and Uncle Lewis try to see past the others.
What is it?
Ellen quickly shepherds them away.
It's nothing. Let's go finish our dessert.
Eddie tilts the chair and looks at the underside.
You know, if this cat had 9 lives, she just spent them all.
Dad, can you get the door?
Clark and Eddie bring the chair into the foyer, and Clark Sr. opens the door. Ellen walks in.
What are you doing, Clark?
What's it look like I'm doing? I'm throwing away the chair.
Is it ruined?
Honey, you and I will not outlive the stink of this piece of furniture.
What did you do with the cat?
There's nothing to do anything with, Ellen. It blew up. Eddie found its asshole stuck to the wall, for God's sake.
Watch your mouth.
Oh, sick. I thought it was a piece of licorice Rocky spit on the wall.
You know, Clark, if somebody got hit with that thing, I mean, could have put an eye out or something.
Thanks for sharing that with me, Eddie.
They cart the chair outside, and Ellen makes a general announcement.
Okay, everything's fine now. Let's just carry on. It's tragic and distressing, but it's over.
Meanwhile, outside the house, Clark and Eddie dump the chair on the parkway next to the Santa and the reindeer. Clark sniffs the air, noticing an odor.
Hey, Clark, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to see if I can fumigate that chair. I mean, it's a good quality item. So, if you don't mind, how much would set you back?
Do you smell something?
Yeah, deep fried pussycat.
No. No. It's some kind of gas.
Clark looks into the gutter.
It's coming from the sewer.
Eddie picks up the Santa and sets it over the sewer grate.
There you go. That ought to take care of it.
Clark shakes his head in disgust and walks back up to the house. In the living room, Uncle Lewis is alone. He stands admiring the tree while lighting his cigar. He puffs furiously as he waves the flame of the match under his stogie. We see that Clark has come back inside. As he is closing the door, there is a low-pitched poof and a flash of intense light from the living room. Clark dashes into the room and recoils in alarm.
Lewis!
Uncle Lewis is looking at him while happily puffing his cigar. Behind him is a fully engulfed Christmas tree. Clark is in horror.
The tree.
Uncle Lewis is oblivious to the raging firestorm behind him. And he says crankily, he doesn't know what he's yelling about. So Clark points.
Look what you did to my tree.
Lewis turns to look at the tree, and we see his backsides also in flames. Horror upon horror! Clark rips down the curtain and dashes to Uncle Lewis. Cut to the kitchen, where the ladies are cleaning things up. Christmas carols are playing, and the radio's blasting for Aunt Bethany's benefit. The smoke detector goes off.
Is that the smoke alarm?
It sounds like it.
Oh, Lewis probably lit a cigar.
Back in the living room, the tree has finally burned out. Clark slowly unwraps Lewis from the curtain. His toupee is over his eyes and his cigar is crushed but still smoldering. He tells Clark that he's on his priority shit list. After some time, the family, minus Clark, assembles in the living room. The tree is a blackened skeleton. There's a burnt spot on the ceiling, and the few gifts that were placed around the bottom of the tree are charred. The ornaments and lights are fried, and the carpet around the tree is melted. They all stand looking at the sad tree.
It was an ugly tree anyway.
At least it's out of its misery, huh?
Ellen takes Rusty and Audrey into the foyer. Rocky says to Eddie, is Santa Claus still gonna come?
Well, that's a good question there, Rock. Catherine? If the tree's
Of
buzzed...
course, he'll still come, Rocky.
You know, if he's smart, he'll stay away from this, clear of this joint, okay? It's a death trap from stem to stern.
Audrey and Rusty are confused and upset.
Mom, the tree burned down. The cat blew up.
I know, honey. But there's nothing we can do about it.
That's gonna flip out, right?
Nobody's going to flip out. We're going to have a wonderful Christmas. We just have to be patient. There's nothing to get upset about.
Just then, the doorbell chimes. Clark stomps in from the kitchen, grabs the front door handle, and whips it open. A delivery boy in a blue uniform is standing at the door. He's holding the knocker that has just been torn off the front door in his hand. The door wreath is dangling around his arm, and he is shocked. Clark barks at the boy.
What the hell do you want?
The delivery boy looks terrified.
Oh, I have a delivery for Clark W. Griswold. I was supposed to deliver it yesterday, but it fell between the seats and I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
He holds up an envelope, and Clark's angry expression withers as he sees it. The delivery boy hands it to Clark.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
He closes the door and stares at the envelope.
I can't believe it.
What is it? A letter confirming your reservation at the Nut House?
It's from my company.
Your bonus!
My bonus!
He grabs Ellen and hugs and kisses her. He brings Audrey and Rusty into the embrace too.
Well, open it, Clarky.
Hey, Clark, I hope it's a fortune.
Clark starts to sob, smiling, sobbing, gushing emotion.
I never saw such a sight. Jesus.
I thought I never knew. I was afraid.
You're gonna bawl all over it, or are you gonna open it?
I was gonna wait until tomorrow to tell you all this, but what the heck with this bonus check? I'm putting in a swimming pool.
Dad, what?
Yeah, that's it. That's the big one.
Oh, open it, honey. Open it.
I'm sorry if I've been a little short with everyone. I've been waiting for this check to make sure the pool goes in as soon as the ground thaws. I had to lay down money in advance, and until this little miracle arrived, I didn't have enough money to cover the check.
Tear the sucker open, Dad!
He tears open the envelope slowly and deliberately, teasing himself and the others. He brings the envelope to his lips and blows, inflating it. With great flair, he reaches 2 fingers into the envelope and snares its contents. He withdraws a green slip of paper and waves it in the air.
First, if there's enough left over, I'll fly you all in to help us dedicate it.
Clark, I can't swim, Clark.
I know, Eddie.
He turns the slip of paper over and looks at it for the first time. His face freezes as he stares at the check, and he lets out a strange, high-pitched giggle, then turns deadly serious. The family stares at Clark, unable to understand the change of spirit.
Clark, what's wrong?
Clark doesn't answer. He just stares at the piece of paper.
Honey?
Still doesn't respond.
Is it bigger than you expected?
Clark shakes his head no.
Smaller?
Clark shakes his head again.
Well, what is it?
A 1-year membership in the Jelly of the Month Club.
Oh, God. Clark.
The family is knocked into silence by the news.
Well, that's the gift that keeps on giving the whole year.
That it is, Edward. That it is indeed.
Helen tries to calm Clark down, fearing another explosion.
Clark, I'm sorry.
The family backs away as Clark's temper rises.
This isn't just the biggest bag over the head punch in the face I ever got. God damn it. Listen, if any of you are looking for a last-minute gift idea for me, I have one. I'd like Frank Shirley, my boss, right here tonight.
Eddie looks at Clark as an idea seeps into his thoughts.
I want him brought from his happy holiday slumber over here on Melody Lane with the other rich people, and I want him brought right here.
Clark's eyes are wide with anger.
With a big ribbon on his head. I want to look him right in the eye and tell him what a cheap, lying, no good, rotten, four-flushing, low-life, snake-licking, dirt-eating, inbred, overstuffed, ignorant, pus-oozing, blood-sucking, dog-kissing, brainless, dickless, hopeless, heartless, fat-ass, bug-eyed, stiff-legged, spotty-lipped, worm-headed sack of monkey shit he is. Hallelujah. Holy shit. Where's the Tylenol?
Clark storms out of the room and into the kitchen, leaving the family silent. After a minute, Ellen clears her throat.
How about some eggnog?
Just then, we hear a loud revving of a chainsaw coming to life. Outside, Clark comes out of the garage with the chainsaw roaring. Ellen and all the kids hurry out the front door to look.
He's got that look, doesn't he?
We should have gone to Hawaii.
Turn that thing off and get in the house.
Clark ignores her and heads for the corner of the house.
I'll talk to him, Mom.
Rusty steps off the porch and approaches Clark.
Dad?
Clark slowly turns to Rusty. He has an angry, crazed look in his eyes and a chainsaw in his hands. Rusty steps back.
Good talk, Dad.
Clark turns from Rusty and marches across the lawn to a spruce on the corner of his property. He lanes the chainsaw into the trunk and yells at the top of his voice.
Timber!
The neighbors, Margot and Todd, are sitting in their living room having cocktails and listening to New Age Christmas music.
Aren't you just the tiniest bit sorry we didn't get a Christmas tree? I mean, even if they are dirty and messy and corny and cliched.
Where are we going to get a tree at this hour on Christmas Eve?
Just then, Clark's blue spruce crashes through the window behind them. Some time has passed and Clark is washing his hands. Next to him, Ellen is scowling.
What?
Was that really necessary?
Clark plays dumb. In the heat of the moment, he's cooled and he feels slightly foolish about his outburst.
What?
Making a scene like that.
We needed a tree.
May I remind you?
This was my idea. No, I am well aware of it, dear.
Well, could you keep that in mind next time you go berserk?
I didn't go berserk. I simply solved the problem. We needed a coffin, a tree. There were no tree lots open on Christmas Eve. Your uncle burned down my tree, so I simply replaced it as best I could.
You're okay?
Honey, I'm fine.
Clark picks up the chainsaw off the bathroom vanity and walks out into the hallway. As he comes down the stairs, he grabs the newel post and the ornamental piece atop loose in his hand. He looks at it angrily, starts up the chainsaw, and levels the newel post in one clean swipe.
Fix the newel post, sweetheart.
Outside the window, we see the RV quickly backing out of the driveway. By this time, the family is reassembled in the living room. The new tree is up and has been hastily decorated with a single strand of melted, elongated light bulbs, charred tinsel, and ornaments salvaged from the burned tree. Clark walks in and places presents under the tree. Then, Bethany perks up.
What's that sound?
All eyes turn to Bethany.
Did you hear it? Funny squeaking sound.
You couldn't hear a dump truck driving through a nitroglycerin plant.
Wait, I hear it too.
We hear a faint but distinctive, high-pitched squeaking. In the laundry room, Snot is chewing on some freshly washed clothes, and his ears pick up too, and he looks at the door. Back in the living room, the squealing grows louder. Everyone stops to listen closer. Clark leans down to the tree and has a listen.
I don't hear it anymore.
He spreads the thick, fresh branches to peer into the tree. He squints as he sees movement. And then he looks in shock as a squirrel leaps out of the tree and over his head. All hell breaks loose as the crazed wild squirrel bursts into the room.
Holy infant!
Squirrel! People are running every which way, bumping into each other. Nora faints in the middle of the room. Lewis's cigar ashes spray as he rams into Clark Sr. The children and the women are screaming. Art decks. Squirrel runs up the drapes and leaps onto the couch where Bethany, who is sitting, is oblivious to the mayhem. She's sitting with her legs a little too far apart, and the squirrel takes advantage. It runs up one of her legs under her skirt. Bethany looks up, puzzled, grimaces, and gives a yank on her undies.
Man, hope somebody got me a girdle for Christmas.
The family's in horror as they watch Bethany, who is still unaware of what's up her skirt. We see the squirrel scrambling around in her lap. Lewis looks unconcerned. He looks up from Bethany to Clark.
You can write that son of a bitch off, okay? Nothing goes up there and lives to tell about it.
Clark and Lewis look back at Bethany. A beat, and they scream as the squirrel flies out of the skirt towards them. They run to the foyer where everyone is huddled, screaming and shivering in revulsion.
Quiet, shut up.
Everyone quiets.
Don't want it to get out of the living room. Give me a coat. Where's Eddie? He usually eats these goddamn things.
Oh, not recently, Clark. He read that squirrels are high in cholesterol.
Thank you, Catherine. Look, I'll try and trap the thing under a coat. Audrey, give me Grandpa Art's overcoat. Rusty, give me a hammer.
What do you need a hammer for?
Catch it in the coat and smack it with a hammer.
Ruby Sue screams. Francis faints. In the living room, it is silent. Nora appears to be out cold in the middle of the room. Bethany is still sitting on the couch, oblivious. Clark and Clark Sr. tiptoe into the room.
Nora.
Nora's playing dead. She lays perfectly still.
Is it gone yet?
No, just lay still. Clark, you better get Bethany out of here.
Dad, do you honestly think there's anything else that squirrel can do to her?
That's a point.
Clark steps lightly around the room and makes a chirping sound. There's no response.
Probably got scared and ran back into the tree.
Clark walks towards the tree. As he steps over Nora, she starts to slowly get up. She lifts her butt in the air, afraid to move too quickly. As Clark passes, it is revealed that the squirrel is now on his back! Clark Sr. sees it and yells,
"It's on your back!"
Clark screams, turns, and plows into Nora, spilling her ass over tea kettle again. Once more, it is mayhem in the foyer. Everyone runs in opposite directions. Ellen, Rusty, and Audrey burst into the kitchen. Catherine crashes into the dining room table, and the grandparents just can't seem to decide where to run. Clark flies down the hallway towards the kitchen, and there's a wild scramble for the stairs as everyone runs up. Then Audrey runs out of the kitchen, screaming as the squirrel clings to her head, squealing and squealing away. Snot, hearing the rodent, bursts through the laundry room door and charges down the hallway after Audrey, decking Art. The squirrel leaps from Audrey's head and onto Clark Sr.'s shoulder and up the stairs. In a spray of foam and spit, Tot snares up the stairs after the squirrel. A beat later, the people that ran up the stairs plow back down. Everyone charges into the living room as the squirrel, followed by Snot, clambered down the stairs into the kitchen. They're running around, causing mayhem. Outside, Todd and Margot stand on their porch.
You march right over there and slug that prick in the face.
I can't just attack someone.
If you're not man enough to put a stop to it, I am.
She marches off, heading for the Griswolds. Back in the house, the dog is hot on the squirrel's trail. They charge down the hallway from the kitchen to the foyer. Clark can think of only one way to get the animals out. He grabs the front door handle and whips it open. There on the front stoop stands Margot, hand up, ready to knock. Her eyes pop open, and she screams as the squirrel leaps for her face. Snot right behind her. As soon as they're out, Clark slams the door.
Gone.
Todd stands in his house looking annoyed. The doorbell rings, and he opens the front door. Margot limps in. Her face is clawed from the squirrel, and her outfit is shredded. The bottom half of it has been completely torn off to reveal ripped pantyhose. Todd is horrified.
My God, what happened to you?
Margot pushes the hair out of her face, draws her arms back, and throws a mighty punch. Todd hits the deck. Margot steps over him and heads for the stairs. Back at the Griswolds, Clark comes down the stairs in a Santa suit. Ellen and the kids follow. Art and Francis are at the closet getting their coats.
Whoa, where do you think you're going?
Art and Francis look up at Clark with alarm.
Nobody's leaving. Nobody's walking out on this fun, old-fashioned family Christmas. No, we have a full-blown 4-alarm holiday emergency here. We're going to press on and we're going to have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap dance with Danny fucking Kaye. And when Santa squeezes his fat white ass down that chimney tonight, he's going to find the jolliest bunch of assholes this side of the nut house.
You're goofy.
Don't piss me off, Art.
Clark, it's over.
Not according to Santa's watch, it's not.
Son, listen to me, please.
Dad, stay out of this.
I think it's best if everybody just goes home before things get any worse.
How the hell could it get any worse? Take a look around, Ellen. We're at the threshold of hell.
Quick cut to a large mansion where we see the RV whipping out of a long driveway. It hits the street on 2 wheels and speeds off in haste. Cut back to the Griswold's kitchen where Clark Sr. and Clark are standing talking.
Son, I love you. We all love you. This is a terrible night. Nothing's gone right. It's a disaster. But you sitting out there singing like a lunatic only makes things worse.
Clark looks at him, feeling slightly foolish.
You're too good of a father to act like this. In years to come, you want your family and your children to remember all the love you gave us and how hard you tried to make the perfect Christmas.
You
just cocked it up. It's okay. It happens. Go upstairs and put on some fresh clothes and a happy attitude.
All of our holidays were always a mess. How'd you get through it?
I had a lot of help from Jack Daniels.
Good talk, Dad.
Good talk, son.
Are you gonna recite the night before Christmas?
No. It's your house. It's your Christmas. I'm retiring.
The family is seated in the living room. Clark standing at the fireplace.
The children were all nestled, all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads.
Outside, the RV roars into the driveway and slams to a stop. Unaware of this, Clark continues his recitation.
When out on the lawn, there arose such a clatter.
Rocky and Ruby Sue listen intently.
I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter.
Clark steps from the fireplace as he physically interprets the poem.
Away to the window, I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash.
With great flair, Clark throws open the curtains on the bay window at the front of the room.
The moon on the breast of the new-fallen snow gave luster of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eye should appear?
Clark does a double take as he looks out the window.
But a miniature sleigh and Eddie, my cousin, a man with no brain, and my boss and his jammies all wrapped up in chain.
The front door opens and Eddie enters with Frank Shirley. His hair's mussed, his face is red with anger, and a Christmas bow is tied tightly over his mouth to silence him. He's in his pajamas and slippers. Wrists and ankles are bound in dog chain. He mumbles and grumbles with rage. The family gathers near the doorway in stunned silence, but Eddie has a big, proud grin.
Merry Christmas, Clark.
Clark is speechless with shock. Eddie looks at Frank.
Are you ready to do some kissing there, Frankie?
Frank's eyes bulge in horror. Meanwhile, at Frank Shirley's house, Helen Shirley is on the phone. She is frantic.
My husband's been abducted.
Back at the Griswolds, the ribbon and chain have been removed from Frank Shirley. He shakes the cramps out of his wrists.
I have never been treated like this in my life.
I'm sorry. This is our family's first kidnapping.
You're fired. Where's the phone? I'm calling the police.
Well, hold your wad there, fella. Okay, Clark didn't have anything to do with it. This here was my idea.
All right. He's still fired, and you're going to jail.
No, it's my fault, Eddie. I lost my temper when I got my bonus, and I said some things I shouldn't have.
Frank's confused, and he thinks for a moment.
How did you get a bonus? I cut out bonuses this year.
A fresh clip is slammed into an assault rifle somewhere far off in a police station. Clark is offended by Frank's arrogance.
Yeah, and thanks for telling us. I was expecting a check, and instead I got enrolled in a jelly club. 17 years with this company, and I've gotten a Christmas bonus every year but this year. If you don't want to give bonuses, that's fine, but when people count on it as part of their salary, what you did just plain...
licks it.
Thank you, Russ. And my brother-in-law here, whose heart is a lot bigger than his brain.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Clark.
He's innocent. I'll be more than happy to take the rap on this on behalf of myself and on behalf of every other employee you rear-ended this Christmas.
Frank looks guiltily around the room. His eyes move across the faces of the Griswold family. Clark looks weary, Ellen is embarrassed, and the children are confused. And it is just cold anger from the grandparents. Frank, they are all small, common people who are righteous in their innocence. He can't sustain his anger, and his heart melts as he sees firsthand the people his bloodless policies affect. After a considered pause, he offers his apologies.
You know, sometimes things look good on paper, but lose their luster when you see the effects on real folks. A healthy bottom line doesn't mean much if, to get it, you hurt the ones you depend on. Clark, whatever you got last year, add 20%.
Clark looks like he wants to faint. He's bursting with joy. He looks to Ellen, to the kids, to the rest of the family, and everyone delights in the news. Ellen runs to Clark and he lifts her off her feet.
Merry Christmas, Ellen.
Outside, 3 suburban squad cars grind to a halt. Inside, Rusty holds up his hand to Clark.
To the old-fashioned fun family Christmas.
Clark slaps his hand and Audrey kisses him.
Hey, Daddy.
He turns to the family with a huge grin.
Hey, everybody. Merry Christmas to all. And to all, a good night.
Florid, sentimental music comes on. Out the window, we see 24 police officers on the lawn and a street jammed with police vehicles and cops. Uncle Louis is standing at the front door, where a wave of officers approach the house. Louis casually saunters into the living room.
Grizz, you got just what you need. More friggin' company.
Clark turns to Louis, puzzled. Then he looks to Frank Shirley.
Frank, did you call and let your wife know that you're all right?
It occurs to Frank that he did not call his wife.
No.
Just then, the living room windows are bashed out by a rifle barrel and cops storm into the door. Over at Todd and Margot's, Margot is lying in a bed with a damp cloth across her face. Todd is nowhere to be seen. Clearly, he's been kicked out. There is a knock on the door.
Go to hell, you worm.
There's another knock.
If you want to come in here, you're going to have to break down the goddamn door.
The door blows off the hinges. Armed officers charge into the room and clamber over the bed to the window facing the Griswold house. At the Griswolds, police charge into the room.
Freeze!
The family freezes. Clark's on one foot, arms out, caught in mid-stride. Ellen, Clark Sr., and Frank Shirley are all caught in a rising squat. Nora freezes, adjusting her bra. Audrey's adjusting her underpants, and Rusty's about to sneeze. Uncle Louis is frozen, holding a lighted match. Rocky has a finger up his nose, and Catherine is holding a hanky to Ruby Sue. Eddie is adjusting his balls. Bethany continues to drink her eggnog, and Snot is in the corner, frozen in a half-seated position. A police car pulls up outside and stops at the curb. A middle-aged woman, Helen Shirley, gets out. A high-ranking officer greets her and escorts her to the house. Inside, the police are holding everyone at gunpoint to search the family.
I think you've made a terrible mistake.
I told you to freeze.
Clark holds his position and talks through clenched teeth.
May we blink?
Mrs. Shirley and the officer walk into the living room. Frank is frozen in a semi-squat with his hands in his hair.
Helen!
Helen runs to Frank and embraces him.
Thank God you're all right.
Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. There's just been a big misunderstanding tonight.
I mean, would you and Mrs. Shirley like to step outside while we take care of business here?
No, there's no business. I'm not pressing any charges.
What?
It was a mistake.
Frank, you were kidnapped.
I did something I shouldn't have, and these people called me on it. This is Clark Griswold and his family.
Welcome to our home. What's left of it?
Helen is completely baffled.
What is going on here?
Remember how I was toying with the idea, the notion of suspending Christmas bonuses?
You didn't.
I changed my mind. I'm reinstating all the bonuses.
Of all the cheap, lousy ways to save a buck, I'm ashamed of you, Frank.
You're not gonna fire me, are you, honey?
Rocky is standing at the window looking out.
Look!
Everyone turns to Rocky. Rocky dashes outside. The family, police, Frank and Helen follow. Rocky stands on the lawn looking up at the sky. Everyone gathers around him. There is a red dot of light Low in the sky, Clark looks up at the light with a grin.
That's the Christmas star.
Snowflake falls.
And that's all that matters tonight. Not bonuses or gifts or turkey or trees. It means something different to everybody, and now I know what it means to me.
Aunt Bethany's standing in the doorway. She begins to recite softly.
Hey, Lord, we greet thee, born this happy morning. Jesus, to thee all glory, given word of the Father.
Clark takes Ellen's hand, Ellen takes Audrey's hand, Audrey takes Rusty's hand, and so on until everyone is holding hands. Aunt Bethany begins to sing.
Now in flesh appearing, oh, come let us adore him. Oh, come let us adore him. Oh, come let us adore him. Christ the Lord.
Louis is standing next to the Santa on the curb. He puts a cigar in his mouth and strikes a match on Santa's ass and lights his cigar.
That ain't the freaking Christmas star, Grizz, okay? That's the light on the water treatment plant.
A terrible thought crosses Clark's mind.
Sewer gas.
Louis finishes lighting the cigar and shakes the match.
Don't drop!
Louis flips the match over his shoulder and it drops into the sewer. There's a flash of light from an explosion. The explosion blows the Santa and the reindeer into the sky and everybody hits the deck. Bethany remains standing. She looks into the sky at the Santa, which rockets through the air, glowing and sparking. She puts her hand to her heart and begins to sing again.
And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that a flag was still there.
Everyone joins in.
Oh, say does that
Star-Spangled
banner yet wave
For the land of the free
And the
play ball!
Everyone is looking up into the sky and sees Santa and the reindeer arc across the full moon. Ruby Sue has a huge smile.
Uncle Clark?
Clark looks at Ruby Sue, and she points to the sky.
Santa Claus ain't bullshit. He's real.
Clark looks at her and gives her a wink. Some time has passed, and we see Frank and Helen, the police, the grandparents, Eddie and his family, Rusty and Audrey crowded into the living room. The grandmothers are serving coffee, and the police commander's playing the piano. The officers are singing, "I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus." Clark is still in the yard looking up at the Christmas star. Ellen puts her arm around his waist.
Merry Christmas, Clark.
She kisses his cheek, heads back to the house. Clark continues to look at the star. He grins triumphantly.
I did it.
He laughs to himself. Snot returns from the squirrel chase and saunters over to him. Clark looks down at him, and Snot looks back up. He coughs and spits. A troubled thought crosses Clark's mind. Snot puts his paw between Clark's feet, and Ellen stands in the doorway.
Clark, are you coming in?
He looks down at Snot and then back to the door.
A couple of minutes, honey.
She goes inside and closes the door. The lights on the house go off. He looks down at Snot.
Merry Christmas, Snots.
We hold on Clark's smiling face. We fade out.
Woo! To everyone watching, thank you for joining us on our.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
I don't know about Jack Daniels, but Bullet Bourbon got me through this Christmas. So I would like to raise a glass to my flippers, faster than lightning. Anyone know that reference? Did anyone watch Flipper? Am I old? Anyway,
Heather's seen it. In a while.
Lightning flipper.
You're the leader.
I finished my wine at dinner.
But I appreciate you all so much. You guys have worked hard all year. I just want to say, for the record, for those who may be joining us for the first time or maybe have only joined recently, our very first Flip the
Bless you.
Very
My
first
goodness.
Flip show was on March 27th. It was The Room. In 10 months, we have done 18 shows. So
Wow.
Wow.
Way to go.
I don't know how that
Cheers.
math works out. Clearly, I was a little crazy in the beginning because how did we do 18 shows, 8 extra shows in 10? Anyway, whatever. They've all been delightful and lovely and wonderful, and you guys have made them the amazing experiences that they are. So I raise a glass to you all and say cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.